Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast. This is episode 140. It's just Nate Hale and I.
Oh, you sound so disappointed, Steve.
Yeah, no. Disappointed's not the right word.
Thank you.
For me.
Oh.
I don't know about everyone else. Anyways, welcome, guys. I want to start by saying we got a special guest in the garage, not on the podcast, but he does have access to the microphone. It is Jake Sanders. He's behind the scenes. He is hitting the road. He was in town. He was going to see his grandfather. So, yeah. How's your grandfather doing there, Jake? Thumbs up? You don't have to grab it. Yeah, just.
Thumbs
is he all right?
Yeah.
All right. We can get a little bit more if we want to. But, yeah, so good to see Jake in from Indianapolis. He's at the Burn Lounge. If you guys are in the Indy area, check him out. They are open now for till midnight to have it's full function. So check it out for sure. We always wish him luck, and unfortunately don't get out there enough. So I want to thank our sponsors here. Tinder Box at Easton. We've got tonight the Asylum 13 Nicaragua. We were talking about that before the podcast. It's the original, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I was speaking with Nook Mercer, who's been on the podcast several times before the podcast, just to touch base with him about this. Can't wait to have him back on. He's been on several times. We always love having him on and also driving him back to his hotel when he is done with the episode. Liz is happy to drive him home.
I was about to say.
I'm not driving him home.
I know. I was like, I don't remember someone driving him home, but I know it was a podcast night because I was in the garage.
Yeah.
And who drove? I was like, who drove him to his hotel?
We our DD.
Someone less,
resident DD.
Someone less fucked up.
Someone less. Yeah. First episode he was on, he was looking for his keys for about a half hour.
They were in his pocket?
They were in his pocket the whole time. Hid him from himself, which is smart. You know, if you can hide them on your person, you don't need to worry about driving yourself when you shouldn't be. Yeah. So, also, I want to thank Nate for the pour right now. We are drinking the Sycamore small batch American whiskey. Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit. And then also, Altadis USA, we got Buteras on the table here for the second cigar if we get through this 6x60. And also BS Cigar Company, which we appreciate. Golds and silvers are in stock. I'm working on a project with a new box for the gold.
I have heard about that. Sounds awesome.
It'll stand out, I think. Looking
just like
forward
the
to that.
BS does already.
Just like the BS. So check that out, BS Cigar Company on Instagram and also Facebook, and follow up with us if you guys need to grab some. Also, you guys out there, we had another patron that joined patreon.com/bourbonandbs podcast. He is so Ian, he's already on here. Ian Sean Anderson, we appreciate that. He joins us the last several Wednesday nights, and we appreciate his input on the podcast and also now the contribution. He is a 3X, so I told him he's going to have to give me a few weeks because I didn't have it in the trunk.
Is he local? Where is he at?
He is in... Ian, if you're out there, I'm drawing a blank. It's not Ohio.
Okay.
Tennessee, maybe? I can't remember. Ian, if you're out there still, throw that on the feed there. And so, you guys can get on there. There's 3 different tiers, $5, $10, $25. You guys can do whatever you want. You can cancel anytime. It's automatic renewing, yada, yada, yada. It helps us out. It's fantastic. It's one of the reasons that he's in Kingsport, Tennessee.
All right.
So, like I said, you can be anywhere, be a part of this conversation, and we really appreciate it. So, that being said, Nate, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm on vacation this week. Oh no! Steve got so jealous I'm on vacation. He got up and walked out of the studio. No, it's been good. Taking a few days to just do whatever I want to do, which is basically just sleep in a little bit more and just get some stuff done around the house. Still work at the shop, but not as much as I used to. And then last night, actually, when I got home from the shop, I actually fired up my work laptop just to check my emails because I get so many emails in a day that I didn't want to wait till Monday to try and go through all of those because it would take too long. So last night I poured a glass of bourbon and
always good for work.
Start going. Yeah, it's the only time I've ever drank at my 6 years with the company during work hours.
I was gonna say, yeah, finish that
during
statement.
work hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
You have absolutely drank in the last 6 years. We have it on camera.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
liar.
No,
son of a bitch.
Yeah, so just in 2 days, I had 882 emails, and it took me 2.5 hours to filter through all those. So that way, hopefully, I'll do it at least once or twice before Monday, and hopefully Monday just start with a clean slate and be like, all right, not worrying about any of that other stuff. Even though that means I'm technically taking less vacation time.
It's okay.
I've got 3 weeks to burn in the next 2.5 months.
It helps out when you get back, as we all know.
Yeah.
You gotta do a little bit anymore because you're always tethered, right? I mean, you got work tied into your phone, even, right?
No.
Oh, well.
So I don't have any of my work
Makes one of
programs
us.
or anything on my phone. Whereas most of my teammates, they have either Microsoft Teams or their work email that go into their phone. I'm like, no. Once I leave work, I leave work. Once I shut down that laptop or walk out of the office, I'm done. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
And then you go to your other job.
Yes.
Such a stickler for your free time.
Well, I have more of that now.
That's true.
Except this week, someone at the shop is on vacation this weekend, so I got to work 3 shifts for them that I wouldn't normally work. So
it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sharing. I encourage everyone right now. StreamYard, which is what we use for this, they've kind of switched some things up. So now we're sharing as we get started. Before I was able to do it beforehand, but it didn't seem like it was reaching. We got a lot of feedback that people weren't seeing it show up. So we're doing it live now. So it takes me a moment to share it to a lot of the groups that engage with us. So give me just a moment here. Why don't you dive into the whiskey here a little bit while I finish this up here?
All right, so
Tell us what we're drinking.
Sycamore small batch American whiskey. Sycamore Distilling is a branch of March 1st Brewing and Distilling down in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's from their website, if I remember correctly, they are the only place in the country that is a brewery, a distillery, and a cidery.
Cidery.
Meaning they make their own cider. So they do ciders, they do beers, vodkas, gins, rums, bourbons, whiskeys. They do an Applejack whiskey. They do cinnamon whiskey. They do an Ohio malt whiskey. That's all from beer malt.
Okay.
So they do a lot of stuff. So I picked this up. I want to say it was back in December of 19. I just happened to go in a liquor store, and this is something that they had got in that particular day, and it was limit 1 bottle a person. So I was like, oh, this must be something fairly special. And there were 2 different bottles. There was this small batch whiskey, which says right on the label, aged 10 years. And then there was another one that was a bourbon. And I think that one was either 2 or 4 years on the label.
So I saw that one at the store tonight, and I was thinking about getting it, but I was like, no, let's save it, because we're getting to the point now where we're trying to, make sure that we have a featured bottle every week. So I thought about getting that and doing a taste test back and forth. But I think what I'll do is keep an eye out for it, and then maybe in the next few weeks we revisit the Sycamore small batch straight bourbon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Janie Campbell says their cider is very good.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. So it's little unique.
It's not. It's good. Did you guys get a pour of this?
It's got a very oily texture. Jake's drinking Eagle Rare, so this would be way below him. This would be way below Jake's palate.
Whoa.
Now Jake will drink anything, but if he's got a choice between Eagle Rare and just about anything else, he's going to go with Eagle Rare.
Oh, and he lives in Indianapolis now, so
where you can actually
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's garbage. That's what that's called, garbage. I have like a bottle and a half, and I'm like rationing it, to make sure I don't get into it too far. And then one night I get into it too far, and I'm like, God damn it! All right, so this is it's an American whiskey.
Yeah.
So it's not a bourbon, according to what they were
According to what they call it, yeah, they don't call it a bourbon.
Right.
So I'm curious as to what they did that made them go with whiskey instead of bourbon, because it definitely hits the qualification on the corn side of the mash bill.
Yeah, what's the mash bill? You said I'm gonna be not wild about it.
So take a guess. Shannon already knows because I told him.
99 corn.
98.9.
Jesus Christ, I was kidding.
So
that would explain how light it is.
So for those playing the home game, it's 98.
It's pretty much everyone.
It's 98.9%
they're at home.
Corn, 1% barley.
What?
Which, if again for those playing the home game, if you do the math, that leaves 0.1% left.
Jeez. What would be that 0.1? Rye?
No, it is 0.1% Ohio apples.
Okay.
So the first place I looked up on the mash bill, it just said 99% corn, 1% malted barley, or not malted barley, just barley. And then when I went to their website, Sycamore Distilling,
yeah,
it actually says 98.9% corn,
yeah,
1% barley, 0.1% Ohio apple, and they actually do a single barrel, and this is 90 proof. The single barrel is 106 proof, but it's this same mash bill.
Okay.
The bourbon, if I remember correctly, the bourbon's like a 74% corn.
Okay. It's sweet. I mean, they say easy drinking. I mean, it's sweet Jameson. So yeah, they're saying Irish in the audience here. I can see it a little bit because it is a lot lighter. I mean, it is extremely light. I've got a Jameson Black Barrel, which I think has more, and I don't want to say it has more depth in a negative way, but this is extremely light and easy.
Yeah.
So the fact they're saying it's aged 10 years, I don't want to say that's. I mean, it is a little surprising. It is light in color, as Jake said, and yeah, that's. It says aged 10 years. Yeah.
The Ohio
and it's 45% out, so it's 90 proof.
Yeah. The Ohio straight bourbon that they do is 74% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley, 1% Ohio apple. So they and then they also make an Applejack whiskey.
That would be good.
That's
yeah,
just
they mentioned it dry.
100% Ohio apples.
So
yeah,
I mean, it's cool. I mean, so maybe I don't know. The only thing I'll say is that aging at 10 years, however they're doing it, and I'd be interested to see the operation. I guess
they're actually in the process of building a new location that's going to have bar and restaurant and everything like that, and that's located down in Milford, Ohio.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's not too far from Cincinnati area.
No,
and some friends from college that were from Milford. Nice area, small area.
Price point in Ohio, this is $39.99.
Yeah. As is the small batch straight bourbon.
Yeah, the bourbon.
It's also $39.99.
Price.
So here's what I'll say just off the rip on that is that it is easy drinking. You know, Jake being here back when we were doing this together, especially the first year, we had some Ohio ones. And there were, even before we started doing the podcast, we were just doing the Whiskey Wednesdays in the garage.
Yeah.
Just basically drinking together. But it was, we had some that you know, I remember Jake brought back, and we've had before from different distilleries. Yeah, and it's like they were like corn water, but in a way that I just had real heavy, almost like corn syrup, what I would imagine drinking straight corn syrup. And I'm not going to call out anything. You know, we've talked about it over the years, but this, and I don't know if it is because they have aged it maybe longer, that I don't see it taste. I don't feel that. I don't have that where it's going to be just this like just corn water.
And that's what I was worried about when I read the mash bill.
And that's why.
Because I've been to some of the garage nights where you drank some of the Ohio stuff, and the one thing I will say that I really do like about this is they aged it 10 years. Like, they actually spent the time to age it. They didn't do like some places and try and use smaller barrels or do the whole pressure cooking type thing.
That's what I was asking.
Like,
do they do normal size 53 gallon?
I'm assuming, because if you did.
Has anyone out there had this that are listening to the live feed on Facebook or YouTube? Let us know. Jake's saying use barrels on this. So it is something that we are not as familiar with this, but that's what I like about it is that I had no idea. It's a nice presentation. It's your classic like wine bottle looking thing.
Yeah.
A little bit of a swell on the neck. Not a bad price point. You got a little friend there.
Yeah.
See you. Oh.
It's kind of like a Willet Rye bottle.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it's got a very elegant label on it.
White with
gold leaf. Yeah. So, and it has the handwriting. Batch number 5, bottle number 107, and this was bottled on November 1st of 2019. So almost a year ago, this was bottled, and it does say on there aged 10 years. It gives a little bit of a story. It says in 1794, Christian Waldschmidt, a veteran of the American Revolution and businessman, started a new community at the site of the Little Miami River in Sycamore Township, Ohio. So that's where they get the name. He built a general store, a blacksmith shop, a church, Ohio's first paper mill, and one of Cincinnati's first distilleries. That dude was busy.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. He had all the ladies. Today, we produce only the finest whiskeys just a short distance from that original settlement in Sycamore Township to celebrate Waldschmidt's distilling heritage and rugged pioneering spirit. It says distilled in the USA, again, 45% alcohol per volume, and then 90 proof.
And Jake was right. They are using used bourbon barrels.
There you go.
So that is why
that would
it is
explain
not
a
bourbon. Because
it's got a light color, yeah. Used barrels, so that would be something similar, like Jake was calling it out. So, so in the time that Jake's not been on the show, he's been drinking and learning and drinking, learning first, drinking. I don't know, it's somewhere in there. Yeah, you always prefer drinking first. No, but I mean, so it's good.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more of like a butterscotch and caramel, which I get it, but not.
It says it on there.
Like, well, just with that much of a corn content, that's what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I ended up getting more of a lot more vanilla bean flavor to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Grab that mic, unmute it there, and let us know. We got Shannon Chapman right now, and also, like we said, Jake. Ian says, learn better while drinking. I feel like,
is that
Ian, you might be. I agree with the statement, but it's, I don't know if that, did he say it like Yoda, or is he already drinking? Learn, not you can learn better while drinking. Just learn better while drinking. Go ahead, Shannon. I'm sorry.
So, thanks, Steve. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. For me, it's like a real light drink. And, it doesn't linger in your palate at all. It just kind of goes straight down. I even held it in my mouth for a couple of seconds, and I didn't get any burn. I didn't get any residual.
It's a very short finish.
Yeah, very short. And we were talking here. It's almost like you get a taste of the Honeycrisp apple almost in there. A little bit of a little light crisp snap to it, but other than that,
'tis the season.
'Tis the season.
Didn't you just go apple picking?
Do you want to? You don't want to?
Fine.
You don't have to.
No, it's fine.
It's good to have you back there.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
An old studio. Yeah, I think the apple crisp is like, I don't know. I think it's just because you said that. You know, if you
exactly
say,
right.
If you say a note, then your brain goes that way. But I will say there's no plum, so.
No cherry seltzer.
Yeah, that was the old note.
It is apple picking season.
It is. Didn't you do that?
We went apple picking, but didn't pick apples because they're like doing different days. I don't know. Even apple picking has been.
You gotta be 6 feet apart, Steve.
From the apples?
Yes.
They're worried about the apples catching.
We were far enough away. I'm not going to say where it was. I don't know if it's like legal or not. But like, we had masks on. Some people had masks on. People working there had masks on. We were in the little marketplace, and but there were plenty of people with either the mask pulled down, families, and some just didn't have them at all, and no one said shit to anyone. And
probably not in a.
It was outside of Franklin County.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably not in a major city.
No, but it's like the only place, not the only place, but one of like the main places that people go to. So
when you're outside.
Well, we were inside like a market
like
or whatever. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that goes to the topic tonight. Who needs a laugh? Fucking me.
Good pick though. Good pick though, Nate. It's
nice. And so like Eric Evans said, I'm glad you guys are doing this. I see it all the time, but always unsure. And
that's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick this.
Yeah.
So earlier today, I had 6 bottles laid out on my table on my desk, and I took a picture, sent it to Steve, and it's like, all right, here's 6 bottles. Here's 6 bottles to not my work desk. My we'll call it my cleaning station.
Gun cleaning.
Yes. So I sent him the picture. There's 6 different bottles, and he's like, all right, well here I'll narrow it down to 3. And so it was this one. It was a bonded rye, and then it was JTS Brown. Those were the 3 options, and I was like, well, I've been sitting on this bottle for almost a year now. Not JTS Brown, Old Forester 1910. It was this, a bonded rye, or Old Forester 1910. And we've both had Old Forester 1910. Neither one of us had this before.
Which I really like the 1910.
Yes.
I saw that in the wild last week, actually.
Very good bottle. But neither one of us had this, and hadn't really seen anybody posting pictures of it on the community page or any other bourbon groups that I'm in. So I was like, why not? Let's give this a shot.
Well, it's not heavily allocated, so everybody's not freaking out about it.
Well, not only that, but I think you're making a bold move putting out a bottle, right? So I remember seeing this one, but I don't remember seeing the straight bourbon as much. But to come out with a $40 bottle in Ohio, like made in Ohio, I don't know what their distilling or their distribution is, but to come out and say on their American whiskey, you're not going to fly off the shelf, I don't think, right now. I mean, unless you are, like I said, Eric Evans is out there saying, he sees it all the time, but he's always unsure. Someone else said that they gave it a pass. Freddie Burt says, I've seen it, but passed. Again, you see it, it's $40. It's in line with a lot of other, Ohio bottles or other like entry level bottles that you're seeing. 40, we talk about that 40 to 50, 55 sometimes. So not knowing the history, you see it, it looks nice, and then it says American whiskey. That's not the craze. Whiskey is not just whiskey is not the craze still. I think the bourbon, it needs to be bourbon. It can be wheated, it can be straight, whatever you want to like. But to say American whiskey on there, I don't see it flying off the shelf. But that's what it is. So
do you think this might fly off the shelf a little bit more if they kind of highlighted and made bigger the age 10-year part? Because that is really tiny freaking font.
No, I think maybe. I think
it might throw people off even more because they're looking at the color and it says 10 years. So you're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe. I think the marketing is where it needs to be for what it is. Yeah. And I don't know. I'd be interested. We'll have to look into this company a little bit more when we do the straight bourbon.
Yeah.
Get a little bit more information on that because I am interested. Again, good product, very light, good flavor.
Yeah.
Sweet, like they talked about apple a little bit.
It's sweet, but it's not overwhelmingly sweet.
I think the comparison to a basic Irish whiskey is kind of on point. So for those that have had just your basic Jameson, not shooting it, but Jameson, Powers, some of the others, just their kind of, call it baseline products, I think that this is kind of in line with that. I think if you're an Irish whiskey fan, I would say this is one to definitely try. And if you're just a whiskey fan in general and you're looking for something different, you're looking for something that you can have people over and pour a bottle that's $40, that you don't think that not everyone drinks whiskey. I was at a wedding this weekend and, the options were Macallan 12 or Jack Daniels. I started the evening with Macallan 12 and I couldn't tell you what I ended the evening with. I know I had 2 at a time. So it could have been this. I don't know. I don't see it at the bar, but it is light enough that anyone, like I said, anyone can drink this. I think this is if you're wanting to drink whiskey, this is something that you can pour in a glass. You pour ice on it on a hot day. This is something that I think would absolutely be refreshing almost.
Yeah.
It's definitely a nice fall whiskey.
Fall whiskey,
with
neat.
that apple kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And I'd hate to do it with a $40 bottle, but I think it'd be really good in cider.
But I think
I would love to do it with a $40 bottle that Nate bought.
Especially when Nate buys it.
Thank you. No, I'm with it being an Ohio whiskey and the whole 10-year thing. Like, I think $40 is below what we've seen a lot of entry level stuff come in at. Like nowadays with stuff just coming onto the market, like I mean, we've had the barrel craft spirits on. We've had chicken cock whiskey on.
Yeah.
And some of those others, and those are ones that are coming in at like $60 to $100, and then you have this bottle that's $39.99. I mean,
yeah, it's good price. Good price.
I think it's because it's only a $40 bottle. Like, it's an easy bottle to get. Try it. If you don't like it, then just work your way through the bottle. But I mean, it's a good whiskey. I do like it.
And like I said, if you don't like it, and again, not talking down about it, because I think I've said enough positive things about the bottle. This is something that if you are looking for something more maybe complex, not the one for you. I'm interested to try that straight bourbon, so I'm gonna go maybe over the weekend and hopefully grab a bottle of that so we can have that on maybe next week. I don't know.
At first, you paused when you said I'm gonna go, and I'm like, not right now.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Okay.
No, I think this is something that if you don't care for it, or if you're looking for a bit more complexity or more depth or hotter, not hotter, but like, again, more of a typical bourbon, I guess. If you don't like it, this is something that your friends will, assuming you have friends, that they will enjoy.
Drink it and not think about it. Yeah, I can see that, because there's nothing that really stands out. Like, there's nothing. I mean,
towards the end of the evening, that's everything.
Yeah, it's just
drink it and don't think about it. Is that good? I don't know. I'll have another. Speaking of which, I'm gonna have another.
Okay, that's fine. It's solid whiskey. It's very pleasant to drink. I mean, it's not what I was expecting. It is lighter. It doesn't taste as sweet as what I was.
It's not as corny.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it's
even
as
though
much corn.
Even though it's almost 99% corn, it is not the most corn heavy whiskey that we've had.
No,
and
certainly not.
And I'll have to say, like, compared to some of the other Ohio whiskeys or bourbons that we've had on the podcast, I think this is probably my favorite one.
That's a bold statement.
Well, I mean.
So your favorite Ohio whiskey, or your favorite non-bourbon Ohio whiskey?
My favorite Ohio whiskey.
Even better than Tom Ford.
Easy.
I think I'm trying to remember Tom Foolery. I think I've only had that once. Actually, you know
Jake
what?
asked about.
I'm sorry.
Tom Foolery.
I just forgot. Hold that. Not the best whiskey I've had, because I completely forgot about Watershed and Middle West. How the fuck did I do that?
I don't know. It's kind of disrespectful. What about High Bank?
Oh God. See, immediately because of this, I was thinking like
this is awkward.
I was thinking the Cleveland Underground and stuff like that. So yeah, this. Yeah.
So this is the best. Let me. All right.
No.
Take a breather. Take a time out there. This is the best
Cincinnati.
Southwestern Ohio whiskey, based out of Sycamore Township.
Yes.
Near Milford, Ohio.
Yes, let's go with that.
It's a good one.
It's good.
It's good.
This
is a nice drink. All right, we talked enough about. I mean, we said it's good. We'll go back to the rating here at the end. We're gonna switch gears to support him. All right, and don't listen to Nate when he's recalling things as he's.
I'm still on my first glass.
Maybe that's the problem. We are smoking tonight debatably, we have to look back, but maybe the biggest cigar we've smoked. It's a 6x60. This is the Asylum 13 Nicaragua. I always knew it as the Asylum 13 original. This is something that Tom Lazuka and Christian Aroa came up with years ago. To my knowledge, and this is going off the top of my head, and I'll go into the blend here in a moment, but Asylum is part of the umbrella of CLE Cigars. So that's Christian Aroa, the Aroa family. Shannon, you know that? So, well, good. You learned something. The Aroa family owned Camacho. They'd been in the business out of Honduras for quite some time. It's a family-owned business, family-run business still. They sold Camacho. We've gone over this, and this has been a while, but they sold Camacho to Davidoff at one point back in, I want to say, 2010-ish. Yeah, about 10 years ago. And then in 2012, both CLE and Asylum launched. Mm-hmm. Along with a couple other side projects or things underneath the umbrella of CLE, of Christian's umbrella. You had Tom Lazuka, you had a couple of people there, like you had Cigars with Edgar.
Oh yeah, Edgar Hoyle.
You had Edgar Hoyle. You had I want to say Caldwell was one of those, and then I'm drawing a blank, but it was La Serena, I think it was the other.
Yeah.
So anyways, Tom Lazuka was clearly the most successful out of that group. I think there were side projects for some people. Tom obviously did not treat it as such, and continues to not treat it as such. So Tom Lazuka was a Camacho rep. Before all this, that's how he got to know, from my understanding, he got to know Christian Eiroa. And so they started this. Christian Eiroa was really based out of Honduras, like I said, so most of the tobacco, most of the products were very heavy on the Honduran front. Tom was interested in the Nicaraguan front, and so that's where this came in as their first product, and it is, like I said, the black label. And now they've got a handful of others. I know Nate's got the Medulla Oblongata, both Corojo and Maduro, correct? Is that
Yes, I got the Oblongata, which is the box press of both those.
Which we did the Maduro at some point, I think, with Nook. But so this is it's a Nicaraguan Puro. Talking to Nooks, I had to refresh myself here
and we're smoking
on what it is.
660.
It's a 660. So this has a Nicaraguan Habano wrapper, and then a Nicaraguan binder, and then they reveal that it's Esteli and Jalapa fillers. So the Jalapa and Esteli are two of the four major regions out of Nicaragua, for those that aren't familiar with it. And one of the things, again, when I was talking to Nook on my back patio before we started this, he kind of reminded me is that some people call this the Asylum 13 Maduro. Sounds like Frank just went through the wall, doesn't it? Sweet. Perfect.
It's not a Maduro,
Probably
it's Habano.
Liz throwing it at the TV.
It is a pretty dark Habano wrapper.
It is, and that's the thing, is that Christian and Tom, according to Nook, that this is something that they purposely continue to choose a darker Habano wrapper because they like what comes out of that. They like the flavor that comes out of it. And clearly it's had success. They wouldn't have, 8 years of, success so far. Tom wouldn't have the success. Really not like Shannon smoking Asylums. I know Shannon Chapman has smoked a lot of Asylums, and that was one of the biggest things that he really came into our friendship smoking was the Asylum 13 line. And for him not to know that it is something of the CLE, Eiroa stuff that he now enjoys by way of all of the, growing in the industry and enjoying this, the cigar smoking and everything, to have them not know that is, it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool because I think that shows the separation under the umbrella that this is something that they can actually do. With Jake being here, kind of reminds me a little bit, but it's not as in the background. But what Hamlet is doing for Rocky Patel, the Rocky Patel line has Hamlet, and Hamlet is this. How do you say his last name? Paredes. He was at the 10 event a while back, but Hamlet is a Cuban roller. Now he's in the United States, works for Rocky, but there's no real branding on the Hamlet stuff. So, I mean, I like the fact that you can have these under the umbrella. You can have these projects that you can work somewhat separately, but also in collaboration with the parent company or the parent umbrella company, and then still to the consumer have enough separation that if I said, well, you like Asylum, do you like Honduran cigars, do you like CLE? I've had a CLE, I don't really care for it, but I really like Asylum. Different enough, but enough that you could talk to them about trying a ROA product, a CLE product. So,
whenever I think Asylum, I think back, probably it's probably been at least 6-7 years in the industry. I consider them kind of one of the pioneers on the early days of doing the bigger ring gauges, like the 70s and 80s and stuff like that.
I think Ernesto Perez Carrillo was a little bit more of a pioneer
with the inch.
With the La Gloria Cubana CR.
Oh yeah.
So CR, that was a big thing. But with this, you're absolutely right, because Asylum is known for being the big ring gauge, and they went big. It wasn't just like 60 ring gauge, which is what we're. Can you?
You did that. It's been muted.
Yeah, Siri.
Literally, Steve.
Siri likes to listen to me. Yeah. It's a great question, and I don't know. I don't believe so. I think they are bringing in the tobacco to Honduras. So if we get Nook on here, maybe you can have Siri text Nook. but see if they do. I don't believe they do. I think it's all based out of Honduras. I think all their manufacturing. We've talked about it before on the podcast, and I think this is really something really cool. If you guys don't know about CLE, they are what they call a Bayer certified manufacturer, which is like Dole for fruits and vegetables. So it is a complete green footprint. Anything they cut down any trees, they do anything. They have their own cedar trees. They have their own cedar box factory. They have all this stuff. Anything that they do, they are at a certified level that it is completely green, no carbon footprint. They are basically way ahead of the curve on what is, I'd say, what's hot right now. Yeah. All these big companies, you see the commercials for like, Apple with their new iPhone release this week. I don't know if you guys watched that presentation. It's another iPhone. It's the same goddamn thing.
And if I remember correctly, like any of the pesticides that they use for the tobacco, it's all food grade. So it's all stuff that is safe to ingest.
So they cut down a tree, they plant another. I mean, it's one of those facilities that they are way ahead of the curve. They have gone above and beyond to get themselves to a level in an industry that a lot of times is not, at least from the U.S., from the American side, I feel like it's not really looked positively upon most of the time. They don't appreciate the amount of things that some of these companies like Aroa, like CLE, does for Honduras. And obviously then you go into not only the jobs and the economy of that country like Honduras, but then you also have the side of it where obviously it's making sure that they are looking out for the environment, and even the region, so they don't just use it up and move on. I mean, they're not just farming it and trying to make money off of it. They are truly trying to show care to the economy, to the environment, to the land, to the culture, and everything else. So it's absolutely cool to see, I think, that part of it.
Yeah.
But being a Nicaraguan Puro, again, kind of going away from Honduras, another great, obviously one of our favorites, if you've listened to the podcast before, is that you have this Nicaraguan tobacco. What shocks me about Asylum, and has continued to shock me about Asylum, is the fact that the price point of their cigars for quality construction, what I consider very, at least flavor-wise and appearance-wise, great tobacco, they keep the price point down.
What's the 660 that we're smoking, Ron?
660 or around $8.
Okay.
I mean, really, you're around $8. They talk about, so 770, they do an 8x80, they do a 7x70 that we sell the shit out of. The 7x70, from what I understand, I don't want to say they're losing money, but they're not really making a whole lot of money with the amount of tobacco you have to put in a 7x70 and what they put into it. And then they have to obviously sell it to retailers and the retailers. But to keep a 7x70 cigar, think about the amount of tobacco in that.
It's a lot of tobacco.
It's a lot of tobacco. And to keep that, at one point, I think it was like $8.95, and now it's creeped up a little bit, just like everything else. But 6x60 is nothing to shake a stick at, as far as not much tobacco. But I have enjoyed not as much. 60 is a bit big for me.
Yeah, I don't
anymore.
Smoke
I went through my 60 craze just like I think everyone else did. There's a reason on the BS cigars that we stopped at 58. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it's just enough that it keeps it a little bit smaller, a little more comfortable to smoke, which is what I think it is. This, I will say, besides taking a while to light up or relight when you're talking like we are on the podcast, I think it does actually smoke pretty well. You said yours is a little tight.
It's packed a little bit tight around the edges up at the head of the cigar, but it's still drawing and smoking just fine.
What do you think about the flavor?
It's pretty consistent. Like, I don't think it's a very complex smoke. It just stays consistent throughout the whole thing. I'm about halfway through it.
Jesus.
I'd call it. Well, I tried to start a little earlier. Too much.
Go ahead. You talk for a little while.
I tried to start a little earlier so that way we could actually get on to our second sponsored cigar.
Just hold it up.
Just be like, I'm still smoking. Here you go. No, I put this medium plus. Not quite medium full. Just it's got a little bit of spice to it, not as much as some of the other Nicaraguans or Nicaraguan puros that we smoked. definitely enough, though, like you said, for it to stand out from a lot of the CLE or Aroa cigars.
Well, I agree. I think that's part of the purpose is that, and maybe that's a way to keep that cost down as well. The wrapper is a big part of it. Maybe they are not really, so we talked about having when I was last with Tom. I forget, it was a couple months back whenever they were in town. Christian and Tom were doing their road tour. At Royale, which Ryan, talking to Ryan Newman about getting back on the podcast here. But talking to Tom, he wants to get on the podcast, so we just need to line up his travel schedule. And if we don't, because we don't really want, we can do it remotely, but he wants to be in the garage, so we want to get Nook and Tom in here. But I try to circle back, find out exactly how they keep the cost down. Is this a blend that maybe they had a bigger buy and may not have used as, I don't want to say aged, but maybe it's a simpler blend.
Could be. And
it doesn't. That's not a bad thing, Like I was talking to, our blender for BS Gold, and he's like, "Yeah, it's pretty simple blend. I don't know how we can really mess it up going forward, And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, he's talking about the filler." And he's like, "It's a quarter, it's 25% Esteli, it's 25% Jalapa, 25% Ometempe, 25% Condega. It's like it's all 4 regions. Obviously there's more to it of like where you're getting it, but to him as a blender, he's like, no, it's quarter. I don't get it.
And then it makes you
maybe.
And then it makes you think back to like who first made the BS Gold that kept fucking it up a little bit.
Well, no, I think that's it's neither here nor there. Let's get back to Asylum. I think that Tom, he picked a blend that he knew that he could build a company behind. He was going for the bigger ring gauge. He's going for the business side of it, and it's a good cigar. It's good marketing. It's a fun brand. He has actually, in my opinion, made Asylum 13 more of an elegant brand.
Yeah,
than it initially was.
I'm a huge fan of the Medulla Oblongatas.
Yeah.
In both the Corojo and the Maduro.
Yeah.
I like them both. In the Robusto and Toro, I prefer that box press.
Right.
But no, and even those cigars in that Toro size, I think they're $8.95 at the Tinder Box. So again, that price point, especially when you have an employee discount, that price point, it's very, very nice for the type of smoke that you're getting.
Yeah, I'd say this cigar, you say it's not very complex. I get a nice retrohale on it. I get a little bit of pepper. I get a little bit of spice. I think this thing is a bit. So when I look at what we were talking about, right? So say it's a Nicaraguan Puro. Maybe it's not as a complex blend, and maybe I'm overstating. That's an assumption. But being as though it is what I say, Jalapa and Esteli is the filler, and then you got a Habano wrapper. Drinking the Sycamore, which you said is 99% corn, and you have this, between the two products, I think that the Asylum has a bit more complexity, a little bit more things going on. I don't think it's as straightforward as the whiskey that we're drinking, and I think they're both very good. I just think that this is not going to be the whiskey's not going to blow your socks off like we talked about. This Asylum, if you didn't know it, and especially if you're smoking like a 6x52 as opposed to a 6x60, I think you're going to get a lot from the cigar and be surprised of the price point being $8-ish, $8-9. I really do. I think Tom's done a great job with this. I think that Christian saw something in him as a business, now business partner, but as someone to bring into the business. I don't know if you guys out there have smoked it. I'm not seeing a whole lot of comments. There are more comments about the whiskey tonight. But if anyone out there has enjoyed or tried the Asylum or have any questions about the Asylum 13 line or the Nicaragua, please reach out during the feed. And that's another good time to mention to anyone listening to the audio. Every Wednesday night around 7:30 or so, we go for about 2+ hours and do this live on Facebook Live, on the Bourbon BS podcast page, or on YouTube, which we have less traction from because we don't really promote it a whole lot, but it is out there. So if you guys want to share it right now while you're listening, or if you're listening on your iTunes or Spotify or whatever, or if you're checking it out on YouTube, get it out there. But I think this is something that we enjoy, people having more part of the conversation on Wednesday nights, especially when it's just Nate and I.
Yeah. And when you were listing some of the other people that started up with Tom and Christian, like, because I remember some of those other brands, you know, and without a doubt, this one had the lowest price point on their cigars.
That's right.
I think everything else that I was seeing from the others were starting out at like the and they were going like $10 to $13 range for a lot of them. And this one was, I think, the only one coming in with cigars under $10. And I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons why Tom had more success than some of those others.
It could be, and I think, you know, and this is completely just my, you know, I'm of the opinion that I think Tom looked at it as a potential primary business, where some of the others, you know, like Edgar and Caldwell, I think that they had other things going on. So this was like I'm not saying they took it lightly, especially Caldwell, because he's stayed in the business, but you don't really see a whole lot from EH Cigars anymore. I think they saw it as a potential side business or something, like side project that they have passion about, but they didn't really focus as much on it. I think Tom went all in. I think Tom, you know, talking to him, you know, the only thing I can really get from him, hearing him talk, I feel like if you had those four arms working at the same time and Christian's doing his thing, but he's like, all right, you guys work together, you know, or like, you know, whatever. Like, you're not like really working hand in hand, but you're all my four under the umbrella projects or products. And Tom just went balls to the wall, went running. Everyone else is kind of lagging behind. Be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I'd like to do that too. I just think Tom really went after it.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the pairing?
Are we doing ratings or?
Sure. See where we're at. Yeah, let's do the ratings.
Okay.
I'll throw it up there here.
So on the cigar first?
Says on the screen, whiskey, cigar, and the pairing. So and I appreciate it. Thank you very much for bringing the Sycamore.
Yeah, not a problem. Like I said, this is one of those bottles I've been sitting on for a while, waiting to bring onto the podcast. Worth the wait. So Sycamore, $40 bottle. I was pleasantly surprised with how it tasted. Given the mash bill, it's not what I was expecting. It's not as sweet as I was expecting. It's very easy drinking. $40 price point, I'm going to give this an 8. It is enjoyable. It is something that I would drink again.
Would you buy it again? I think that's so. You give it an 8.
It's a good whiskey. There's the only issue I have is there are so many other bottles that even at $40, I might tend to gravitate towards more, just because I might like that flavor a little bit more. Does that make sense? No?
Oh, it totally makes sense. You didn't answer the question.
Would I buy it again?
Yeah.
Yes, I would buy it again. Am I going to buy it like every time I go to the liquor store?
You're not on trial here. I feel like I'm watching the hearings today. You know about well, not Trump, but Barrett. Yeah.
No, I give it an 8. I give it an 8.
Someone just going on for 4 minutes with a question, and they're like, was there a question in there? No. Next question, though.
All right.
So you'd buy it again. You give it an 8. Victoria Box says then it's only a 7, so she corrected you.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks. Love you, too.
Moms will always be moms.
Yes, they will. Mom's got a mom. So, cigar, it's an 8 to 9. It's a great bang for buck cigar.
Yeah.
You get an absolutely fantastic cigar for the money, even with the size. And I think the Tinder Box, it's the 660, the 770, and the Lancero.
Yeah, 99 Problems, what they call the Lancero. My understanding why they call the 99 Problems is because they created the box and they fit 99, not 100 in there, so they call it a 99 Problems. That is urban legend, but I think that is maybe on purpose, but it's also funny.
But a Lancero ain't one. All right. No, it's a great bang for buck cigar. I do see people go to it quite a bit because, especially even the bigger ring gauges. A lot of times people go after those bigger ring gauges because they're like, oh, I get more smoke time for the money. then you get to that whole debate of smoke time, flavor, the filler, ratio, all that stuff. So.
Victoria's just calling you out left and right. I got to be honest.
Thanks,
you said an 8 to 9 she throws up there.
Well, I mean,
that's an 8.5. Thank you, Victoria, for keeping him. Ian, math, it works. Who knew?
8 for the flavor, 9 for the value. How about that?
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, you're the one rating it. How about the pairing? Mind you, the people are listening, and they're absolutely going to correct you if you're wrong.
7. Just because I don't think.
So excited.
Just because I don't think the whiskey stands up to the flavor of the cigar so much, because it's such a light whiskey. It's got a great flavor to it. I think the cigar kind of overpowers it just a little bit because it's such a short finish. It doesn't stay on your palate very long, but the cigar does.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of overpowers it. So they're not the greatest together. I think the Sycamore actually might go better with the second cigar, the Butera.
I think you're right there. So let's leave that.
Your turn. I hope your mother's on here to correct you.
First of all, leave Dorothy Crane out of it. She's a saint.
Well, yeah, I told her that today when I got here.
She is a saint, isn't she? She's a sweetheart.
She put up with you.
All right, so I don't think Dorothy's not listening. I don't think she likes the foul language as much. But I think the whiskey, 8. I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's, for what they're all intents and purposes, I think they did a good job. It's an enjoyable bottle. $40. It's lighter. They aren't highlighting the 10-year. I think Jake had a good point about if because you asked that question, Nate, if they made the 10-year bigger, and then Jake said maybe people would look at it a little bit differently because of the color. If you guys can see it on camera, I'm gonna turn it all the way around because you can see it
like golden honey.
Yeah, it is a lighter bottle. So being an American whiskey, I already gave my viewpoint on that. They called it American whiskey as opposed to a bourbon. I don't think it's going to fly off the shelf. I think it's a cool bottle. I bet you they sell the shit out of it at the distillery if they have tours because you're going to sample it. You're like, oh, it is good, and they look at the bottle and it's like, oh, it's $39.99 because they're in Ohio. It's Ohio regulated, state regulated pricing. I think that they would sell a lot of it. I think the fact that it's 10 years, I think the fact that it's got a great story behind it, I think it's cool that they're doing something different. And, by the way, not trying to claim that they are something that they're not with this bottle. So that's where I give it an 8. If this was just stacked up against a blind taste testing, I don't know how it would fare. All intents and purposes, I think this is something that for $40, like I said earlier, it's a lighter flavor. I think it's easy drinker. I think this could go along with any time of the year, any dish. It's not going to, maybe like you said about the pairing, it's not necessarily going to bring out a whole lot. But again, we're smoking it with a medium-bodied cigar, medium-plus cigar, I'd say. So maybe we're not doing it justice. But an 8, I think, is a fair rating on that. I think with the cigar, the Asylum 13 Nicaragua, or I call it the original, the Asylum 13, it's definitely around a 9 for, again, all intents and purposes. This is a $9 cigar for a 6x60. I think Tom Lazuka has had success, like I said earlier, for that reason. I think that this is something that the cigar is maybe not the most complex cigar, but when it stacks up at $10 or under MSRP, you're looking for a Nicaraguan cigar, that's what this is. This is a Nicaraguan Puro that smokes like Nicaraguan tobacco. It's got great flavor, and when it's $10 or less, I'm not expecting it to stack up. I don't think it stacks up necessarily against a $20 cigar, twice the price. But even that, it's all very subjective, because you don't really know. I think that in a smaller size, I think that this thing smokes a bit better. The 6x60, I think, I know I gave it a 9, but I think that it is a truer 9, if you will, if it's a 6x52 or the 5x50, something like that. But obviously, I did not succeed like Tom did with this brand because he went big, and that's what he was all about. If you look behind my right shoulder, the sign that we put up there is something that Nook brought us and says, "Does this cigar make me look fat?" And the reason they say that is, and I don't know if you can say that in 2020, but the reason you say that is because they did. They went big on the cigars. That was what he made his name off of. Mm-hmm. And now he's finessing the blends. Now he's putting out different products, still staying true. He offers the bigger sizes on most of his blends, but I think he's getting more and more diving into the tobacco as far as the flavor profiles, the blends, and everything else. So this being what it is, I say, again, for basically the purpose of what he did with this cigar, I'd give it a 9. The pairing, I'm not too far off. I'd give the pairing a 7. I would not recommend the pairing as much. I think that they're good on their own. I don't think that this blind pairing that we kind of did, not knowing what the whiskey tasted like. We know what the cigar tasted like. I'm more pleased, like I say, like you said about the 99% corn. I'm glad it doesn't taste like just corn cobs sitting in a glass of water for 10 years. I think that they did a good job with the whiskey, but I think the pairing is definitely not the best. So I say we table that other half for a little bit later on part 2, and if you want this or we have some other things in the garage, we can do that. Or your bag. That being said, let's go into part 2. I want to close out part 1. Guys, thank you very much. Let's thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton, for this Asylum 13. Nook, if you go back and watch this, Tom, if you go back and watch this, I definitely think that you guys would appreciate what we said. But, I mean, thank you guys for doing all the great things you're doing with different brick and mortars. I know you guys were traveling around the country. I know, Jake, you saw those guys as well, if I'm not mistaken. So they did a whole tour of the United States. Christian Aroa is also a pilot and has his own plane, so he was actually flying himself to a lot of the different regions of the country. So once again, that just speaks volumes to what these guys are capable of. Like, yeah, we're going to fly to you. I'm going to fly to you. No, I'm going to fly the plane to you. And you're like, oh, yeah. we will attend. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Pretty cool. Also, Altadis USA, we got the Butera, like I said, the Royal Vintage. That's the second cigar. Thank you for that support, as well as the continued support throughout the year. That sponsorship is going on for a while longer, so thank you very much, Josh Bentley. We're going to get him on. I think the next cigar that we're going to have them feature is the Onyx Bold, which is the new Onyx. First addition to the Onyx line since the original. It's all AJ Fernandez that just hit the market. So, guys, check that out so we can get some feedback when we get Josh Bentley on here. Also, BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available. Like I said, I'm working on a project for the gold, so hopefully we'll have some nice dress boxes for places that want to carry that cigar, or if you guys want to buy a box and show it off in your humidor, we can do that. Patreon.com is the last and certainly not least. Patreon.com/BourbonBS T-shirt that Nate has on, I have on underneath my BS hoodie. Pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together. The podcast logo's on the back. I'm still working on some other stuff right now. And Ian, I know you're still listening. I am going to work on the 3X size. If you guys have a special order size, you just want to do that, the easiest way to do it is just to do the $25 tier. Do it for at least 1 month, hopefully longer. If you do it at the other tiers, it builds up to a point that I'll send you a T-shirt. I am going to the post office this Friday. Get it out to you guys. Thank you very much for the support with that. That helps us do this. Gives us reason to keep doing it because people are actually throwing money down and saying, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Or they feel sorry for us. Either way. Nate missed that one. Or both. Shannon just has nowhere else to go on Wednesdays, so it's good to see him in the garage. Thank you very much. If you guys are in the Columbus area, you want to stop by, and you pass a background check, we will get you in the garage to hang out. Yours is pending, but that's why I now have a dog. Guys, cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. If you're on the live feed, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick intermission. We'll be right back.
So Josh Rushing saying that there's also Onyx Nicaragua?
To my understanding, Josh Rushing, the standard line, the Nicaragua and the Bold. I think the Nicaragua Bold is what I know of, unless Onyx has a online-only cigar. I don't think there is. It says Nicaragua Bold on there. So, Josh, I'm not saying you're incorrect. It's pretty good. The Nicaragua or the Bold? The Bold. if there is an Onyx Nicaragua, I believe that may be online only. Brick and mortar side, I believe it is just the Onyx and the Onyx Bold Nicaragua, or Nicaragua Bold, which is the AJ Fernandez blend. So if that's incorrect, Josh, I apologize. It may be something else out there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You out here?
My mom just commented she got a dog too.
She did.
She's had a dog for about a week now.
And I have lost the feed on mine.
Yeah, mine did too.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, hopefully you guys can still hear us here. Josh says it froze. Now we're back. I see mine's working again, so we shall see. We'll give it a moment. See you, Jake.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Be good. Be safe.
Yeah, thanks for.
Love seeing you, man.
Yeah, you too. You guys have fun.
Be safe. Not you, Siri. Jesus Christ. All right, can you guys hear us? Can we get some? Josh Rushing says it froze. Avi says it's going in and out. Hopefully you guys can, it's all over online. I know the Spectrum was having some issues, and I don't have Spectrum. Well, yeah, I do have Spectrum.
It's fine on YouTube.
Oh, is someone saying that?
Yep.
All right.
I got a text message from one of our listeners that it's working just fine on YouTube.
Well, Facebook, never mind.
And all I did was like close out and then restarted.
Avi says we're good now.
Yep.
Yes, we're good now. So maybe it is Spectrum. I don't know. The shop in that area, I had a text from our friend Brandon, who lives right near the shop, and he texted me this morning. He says, "Are you guys having issues?"
Well, a couple of other people just said, they never lost it. It's going just fine. So.
That's all right. Yeah, worst case scenario, you don't have to listen to us babble for 5 minutes. Nate, I'm going to hit the side outhouse here. Talk amongst yourselves.
What's the topic again, Steve?
Who needs a laugh?
Who needs a laugh? Yeah, because we had a visitor in the shop last night, someone who's in the industry. There was no one else in the shop, just Steve, myself, and a rep. And that particular rep's been, just dealing with stuff, and he's a very empathetic person. And so sometimes the emotion and stuff just kind of wears him down. And at the end of the night, Steve played a couple of funny videos from some SNL sketches that just had the dude cracking up. He's like, that's what I needed to end the night. That's what I needed, before I go home. So we were kind of tossing around that topic because I think, like everyone, we're all just getting sick and tired of everything going on. Whether it be politics, whether it be COVID, any of that shit. Like, everyone's just tired of it. So
encourage people to chime in.
So that's
like, don't get into it.
No. So I mean, that's kind of one. So a question to the people that are still listening as we're getting ready to do part 2, like, what are you doing to bring a smile to your face? Like, are you one of those people that are, just down and negative all the time, or what are you doing to lift yourself? Okay. What are you doing to lift yourself up, to make yourself laugh, to make yourself smile, and fix your face? And yep, my mom's favorite joke. Just to start, 4 guys walk into a bar. The 5th guy ducks. Her favorite joke.
She didn't give the punchline.
No, that's because with her,
you gave it away.
No, because with her, all I have to do is go, "Hey, Mom, 4 guys walk into a bar," and she'll just bust out laughing because that's her favorite joke. It always puts a smile on her face. I just sit there and say 4 guys. And
so according to my feed, it's 4 guys walking into a bar. I got a dog. I don't get it.
I think that was referring to, I don't know, maybe her, maybe that came out twice. I don't know. But yeah, 4 guys walking to the bar.
Yeah, I get it.
But no,
I don't get it.
The reason she likes that joke so much is watching people try and figure it out, because it's not the normal, so-and-so walks into a bar type joke. And so there are people like, my favorite response to that one was like, yeah, 4 guys walking to a bar, 5th guy ducks. So like, what 5th guy? I'm like, excuse me? Like, what?
4 guys walk into a bar, the 5th guy wasn't texting. All right, let's get started.
Okay.
Everyone good? I think they had a loop. I don't know. It's probably Liz inside watching like a 4K like Netflix. Either a horror movie or true crime or something.
I was going
like
to say
that.
something about an American serial
Someone
killer.
died.
Yeah, a serial killer. Yep.
All right. Yeah, Tyler says there's a 15-second lag from what we hear to what you see in the comments. That's always the way it is. So we're watching on ours, and we're doing it live. So I will refresh this and see if we can get it back.
And according to Josh Rushing, Steve, you were correct. There's the Onyx and Onyx Bold.
Every once in a while, I get it. You know. Josh, you made my 2020 right there.
Really? That's all it took?
Yeah, it's not a real high bar.
Trip
not a
over
high
that
bar.
thing.
All right.
You're not going to hit your head on that bar. You're going to trip over it.
Kick it down the fucking street.
Right to the mailbox.
Ready? Easy. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast. This is episode 140, part 2. We are getting into Beyond the BS. I want to thank our sponsors before we get into this. Tinder Box at Easton. We are continuing to smoke the 6x60 size of the Asylum 13 Nicaragua, which was the original. We reviewed that on the first part of the podcast. We also were drinking the Sycamore American Whiskey, which Nate was so kind to bring. So, again, listen to part 1, share it, review it, tell us what you think, all that good stuff. But Tinder Box at Easton for supplying us with the Asylum 13 Nicaragua, which is part of, I forgot to mention this on part 1, it's part of the, how did I say this? It's getting, so quote, this is it's getting cold, so go outside and light up a big one sampler. 5 cigars, all from CLE and Asylum.
Smoke a big one. All right.
Smoke a big one. Yeah, so there's 5 cigars in there, 20% off, $39.95. It includes this cigar that we're smoking currently, still, and for some time probably. It goes all the way to an 8.5 by 52 Pandemonium. There's also it's good cigars. Check it out. We'll be happy to ship if you guys aren't local, or if you are local.
The Pandemonium's the thinnest cigar, but it's 2.5 inches longer than anything else in that sampler, I think.
Size isn't everything, but if it's still warm out, size can be everything to give yourself a little bit more time outside before it gets cold.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, Altadis USA, thank you. We're going to light up a Butera if we ever finish this Asylum 6x60. I was going to bring the Pandemonium, and I thought second time about that and did not do that.
Thank you.
Also, the BS Cigar Company, the Gold and Silver, now available, still available. Check that out if you haven't. Those are also all Nicaraguan tobacco, so Nicaraguan puros, just like this Asylum 13 Nicaragua. Check those out if you haven't. And also patreon.com/bourbonbspodcast. T-shirt Nate is wearing. I am a little bit of a wuss. I have a hoodie on over my T-shirt, but pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together.
This shirt was actually my mom's for contributing to the podcast. But
That's why I didn't fade like mine.
Yeah,
you haven't washed
this is the first time I've worn it.
I felt like it was the hard water of Columbus.
No, this was the first time I wore it because when I met up with her for lunch, I was like, "Hey, here's your shirt for that Patreon contribution." She's like,
Victoria, I'm ashamed.
She's like, "Oh no, you
slightly offended that you don't want to wear this shirt after that very generous contribution."
She's not much of a T-shirt person.
So I need to get like a ladies cut?
But no, now I have 2. Now I have one I can wear at the podcast, and I have another one I can wear Saturday at the
For the
shop.
contribution that she made, I would be happy to. If she says she wants like a ladies polo, she wants something else, I will make her something on the next order. So we need to find this out. Victoria, if you're listening, and anyone else that wants to drop some coin like she did, I'll do something custom for you. Anyways, so thank you guys for all the support. This is fantastic. We are talking about tonight, what did I say? Who needs a laugh?
Oh. Was that rhetorical?
No, it's serious. This is something like I said in the intro paragraph or whatever when I post this. Looking for some audience participation if you guys would like to. It's like, who said this? Ian Anderson says, the whole damn country needs one. I'm not trying to promote this topic as something that this is a time where we don't take things seriously. I think there's a lot of things going on. We don't have to get full-blown current events. I feel like we will. I don't want to, but we might. This might be one of those episodes that I don't shut up after another glass of whiskey, but I don't know. I'm November 3rd's the date, right?
Yeah. Got a few weeks left.
20 days is what it is, actually.
Yeah.
Almost 19. It doesn't end there. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at Twitter. I'm looking at Facebook. I mean, what's next? I'm seeing people that haven't even made it to the finish line yet, that now there's some people that I am social network, however you want to say it, connected with, that even they are tired of talking about all this shit. You know what I mean? It's not taking things lightly or less serious. I think that it's something that
you're tired of saying the same thing over and over, or hearing the same thing over and over.
I'm tired of saying we need to care about people, and then when it comes down to it, if people don't agree with you, you don't fucking care about them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, and while you were in the outhouse, I brought up someone that came into the shop last night that was not having a good day, really. Kind of down in gloom and stuff like that. And before the three of us left the shop last night,
I had him laughing.
Yeah, you played a couple of sketches on your phone, and he was laughing his ass off, and it was what he needed to change his whole day.
So I thought it was a great move. For those that don't watch it or do watch it, whatever, but I thought it was a great move by Saturday Night Live to have Bill Burr as a host. Did you watch that, Shannon?
I've heard. I haven't get to see it yet.
You have not seen it. All right.
Hasn't seen it yet. So the monologue made some big social media news. Bill Burr did what Bill Burr does, and he basically commented and did a little shock value, but he also commented about all types of things.
He takes shots at
and
everybody.
offended. Yeah, he's the equal opportunity shot taker.
Yeah. Which
but I enjoy his comedy. I think that he is spot on the observational comedy. I thought the episode was funny, and I was surprised that because Saturday Night Live has become maybe I missed it, and I missed a lot of things. I just realized about a year and a half ago that CNN was extremely liberal. So I've just been rolling with stuff and be like, oh, okay, that's the fucking news. Anyways, I think that all these shows, they all are everything's polarized right now. So Saturday Night Live was one of those things that for the last couple seasons, I'll scrub through, watch the funny skits that aren't about that, and then I get to the Weekend Update, and it's just bash Trump, and I'm like, oh, this isn't even really comedy anymore. Like, there was a time that on a show like Saturday Night Live or any comedy skits that you could poke fun or you can make fun, disagree with, but there was just a fucking hint of respect for the way that the country is structured, right? So this person is in that it's in that position. Hadn't been the case on SNL. So this last episode with Bill Burr, I thought was fucking hilarious because they still had their liberal viewpoint, but then they have this person on there that is almost poking fun back at that, but also making points. It's smart comedy. Like, you can't say that anymore, but it's still funny. I don't know. That's where it's like, who needs a laugh? No one's taking things lightly anymore, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you shouldn't feel guilty about laughing or having a good time. It's gonna keep going that way. Not everyone's gonna be completely in the same situation day in, day out. As long as we have the betterment of people, whatever your view of that is. Which that's where I think we are disagreeing. I think that's where we're at with that. But I don't want to.
With everything going on,
I don't want to stay on a soapbox. But I think that this is, you need to be able to still enjoy the time that we have left on this earth. We've talked about this in recent, like a couple months ago, right, when I went on my fucking drunken rampage. But no, I just
no. It makes me think of a line from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, Cameron is so uptight that if you were to shove a lump of coal up his ass in 2 weeks, you'd have a diamond. Like, there are so many people right now that are like that. And just because you don't take something as serious as someone else doesn't mean you don't care. Like, you don't have to take everything as serious as the next person does.
Yeah. So and Ian says, and he actually sent me a very, very nice message to the page, and I got to show that to you, Nate. But he said, it reminds him of a barbershop that he used to go to, and then he moved, and he doesn't have that anymore, and this kind of reminds him of that. And he said less than half those men had the same political leaning, and they laugh their asses off together. And I think that's the big part of it, is I think that you can do that. You can disagree. I had a great conversation with someone on Friday night, sitting around the fire. Shannon, you had already left. Great conversation, and different political views. And it wasn't as much like we were joking about stuff, but we were of similar age. I'm 40, and that person I think is in the mid 40s. And so efforts over here for that person, and I'm just sitting here like I've got my opinions, and I'll use the platform that we've created to a point, but not like to a full-blown political stance or try to tell you what you need to think. But what was interesting by the end of that is that as someone that is, I consider myself a little bit more moderate, but I'm on the conservative side, especially now because of the not pro-Trump, but it's more of like I don't really know how far the other way we can go, and I think that we've polarized both sides of it. But having that conversation, that person said to me, it's like it's actually nice to have a conversation with someone that isn't just shutting me down or trying to talk over me, and actually shares some viewpoints, but has a different opinion on certain other things. And I'm like, that's where I'm missing a lot of this, is that when I say like who needs, I miss the point where it's like it's just black or white, which you probably shouldn't say anymore in 2020 in America, but I mean that's still a saying, right? It's either one side, or it's either one or two, it's A or B, it's whatever you want to call it, it's Y or Z. But it's like this is actually having a conversation, and we can actually leave the conversation actually joking about something else, or it's like, yeah, we covered this, and you're not going to change my mind, I'm not going to change your mind. But at the same time, I've listened to everything that you've said, and I hope you've listened to what I've said. And I may have misspoke at one point. You may have done the same thing. But Jesus, like, you don't need to be constantly offended.
That's kind of
me too. I mean, I don't need to be constantly offended. I'm not.
That's one of the things I miss about.
Ooh, Victoria swinging.
Yep. She's
Victoria, holster the pistols on the comment feed. She threw out capitalism versus socialism. Just, all right. Does she drink? Can we get her to drink?
Now she does. She drinks.
Victoria, go pet that puppy.
She drinks a little bit of wine.
Atta girl.
Or she's been getting into rum and cokes lately, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's dangerous.
I'm not going to share some of my mom's.
I was keeping her somewhat anonymous. You were just going straight into it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
no, she's got some stories from back in her day that
they all do.
I wouldn't talk about unless she actually gave me the green light to. But no, it's one of the things that I actually.
It's not going to happen.
It's one of the things that I miss about having customers in the shop to be able to sit down and smoke, because you always had a group of guys and ladies even involved in the conversation. That would talk about whatever was going on. And there were always going to be people on different sides of the spectrum. But everyone was having a conversation. Everyone was cracking jokes. Everyone's laughing. You know, by the time someone's got to get up and leave, whichever side of the aisle they're on, they're like, yeah, you know what? I think you're an idiot, but I'll see you tomorrow. Like,
There's a comment for you.
Have you ever been offended? No.
I was offended. I think I was 12.
My mom gave me the red light. Yep. Okay.
No, I am offended. That's the thing. I am anymore. Like I was actually venting to Nate. We were, like it's. I went to a wedding this weekend, and so for those listening, everyone's got their viewpoints on that. They've had their opinions of that, and we didn't know what to expect. These are very close friends of ours. I've known them for years, both of them, both the bride and the groom, and no one really knew what to expect. In Ohio, we have the 10 o'clock is the last call, so it's like, okay, so I assume there's not going to be a dance floor, which I'm good with. We don't really need a dance floor at a wedding.
I didn't have dance floor at my wedding or music. I didn't have a DJ or anything.
Were you married in the movie Footloose, or?
No, it was just the venue we had. Like with the venue that we had, like we did.
Were you allowed to smile?
Yes.
Okay.
It was no. So here's what's interesting. So we
feel like you were ahead of your time on this.
we had about 120 people at our wedding, and only one person complained that we did not have a DJ or music. There was music playing through the speakers because my wife and I got married in December, and so like they had
Christmas music.
They had some soft kind of Christmas or
soft yaz.
Sure, but no. What it did is it allowed people
in the elevator.
It allowed people that were sitting at the table to be able to have a conversation, or they were able to go to another table and actually talk to people or introduce themselves. My family and friends, her family and friends, and everyone was able to just have a conversation without trying to shout over a DJ.
Yeah, I mean that's how this wedding they had a DJ. They had a DJ up top, but there was no dancing, right? So they were in a newer facility that just opened up. It was rescheduled from, I think, June or something like that. And everyone could come in a sense. I know that sounds different, but I mean, it's like you could come at your own risk. You can come at your own viewpoint, whether or not you wanted to be around people you knew or didn't know. So that was your choice. It wasn't even it was like, there were some invited people that were like, yeah, we don't feel comfortable coming. It's like, cool, talk to the bride and groom. They're like, yeah, if you don't feel comfortable, then definitely don't come. I understand. Avi says he didn't come because there weren't Hanukkah songs.
Yeah. Well,
Hanukkah.
And my wife even chimed. So I was referring to the reception because we had the wedding and the reception at two different venues. At the wedding, we had a trombone quartet do the music.
No dancing to that.
Because my wife was in the OSU marching band, the best damn band in the land.
All right.
And
not this year.
Every year. And so there were people that she knew from marching band, so they did the stuff for the wedding. But then at the reception, where we had that at, there was no there was no DJ or anything like that.
Jess, he apologizes for misspeaking.
No, I don't.
So, anyways, we were at the wedding this weekend, and we had a good time. And what was interesting about it, we didn't know. We were all going in there, of the mindset, if you will, that we had a couple drinks beforehand because we didn't know if there was going to be really like you only drink at your dinner table, like you can't really mingle, you can't do this. We didn't know.
You pre-gamed at a wedding.
But not even that. It's heavy enough. It wasn't that heavy, but it was heavy enough. When we got there, they were actually, one of the sidebars were open. So then all of a sudden we're sitting there ready to go. We got our masks up and we're looking around. A couple people had their masks down. So we're like, all right, well, I know you, which is the logic in the COVID-19 era is that if I know you, I can take my mask off, which is, by the way, all you people preaching about, like, listen to scientists. If you do that, you're full of shit. Because that's not how viruses work. It's not because you know the person that you're not going to get it. But we take our mask down, and then we see people coming around with drinks from the side on the patio, and we're like, oh, I'm going to go check that out. So then this is the first wedding that I actually am sitting at while they're getting married, while they're giving the vows, with a whiskey in my hand, and I thought this was perfect because the two people that got married is absolutely the type of people they are. I'm not saying they're drunks. I'm saying that they enjoy it and they want people to enjoy their time with it. There were no I don't say there are no rules because that's not what you say these days. There were some guidelines and rules, but by the end of the night, we were out in open air. Started with social distancing, and just like they say, I'll give people credit. I think that it's something that we weren't necessarily keeping the social distancing after we were drinking. I get that, and I have respected people since then, including my family, that we were supposed to get together the next day in the evening
for your birthday.
For my birthday. And I get that. I do. I understand everyone has their opinions. It's about respecting it and me saying, okay, we can reschedule. Or honestly, I'm not offended if no one wants to get together in person right now, and we can do a fucking like Zoom get together. If that's because I look at the same data you look at. I read the same or different, but different angled stuff. It's becoming my level of anxiety, which I don't think I've ever had before this recent time, other than, maybe some up and down relationships. I think that this is a time that you brought it up. The reason we're talking about this, to jog back to that, is because there was a rep in the shop last night that I saw him. I said, "How you doing?" And he like just looked at me, and before he said anything, I'm like, "Fucking me too." Like we had a great time with people over at the wedding this weekend, and then on Sunday at brunch, we're sitting around. There's like 8 or 10 of us, and by the end of it, it's like Liz, of all people, which we've moved in a constructive way. We have different political views, and now we're able to not joke about it. I'm not saying that we're laughing about it, but we're able to respect each other and see that no matter what happens in the next 20 days or next few months, we want to be not bigger than that. I'm not belittling that. It's we as a couple want to
be able to get past.
We want to survive. We see a longer period of time together about this, so we want to do that. So when this conversation on the side table was happening, and Liz says, "Oh yeah, it was like." Steve and I had some ups and downs, and after some drinks, some nights at the house, like we got in arguments because he had voted for Trump and, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I hear out of my left ear, it's like, "Wait, Steve?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" I'm like mid-bite and drinking a Bloody Mary because I was hungover / maybe drunk the night before. But it's like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she's like, you voted for Trump?" I'm like, "Yeah, what? Like, why are we talking about this? It's fucking Sunday morning. Like, what are we doing? We had a great time." And
like you had no idea what was coming.
Yeah, and then it was like, "Oh, I would have divorced," and points at her husband. Like, "I would have divorced him if he voted for Trump." I'm like, "Can I get another?"
Yeah, make mine with a little bit stronger because I'm gonna like.
Yeah, can we? It's not noon yet. Can we keep smiling? I don't know. I don't know. This is one of those that we're coming up with a topic, and Nate and I are, more or less by ourselves. Shannon's hanging out in the garage, and he's just chilling, which I appreciate because, there's some Wednesday nights that I wish he and I would switch places, that I would just be able to sit back and grab that producer mic every once in a while and be like, "Oh, let me chime in now." You guys are doing great, but let me give my 2 cents. I would love to see everyone that is talking about respecting people and people's rights and everything else is to realize that no matter what happens in the next couple months, is that it's like before where people were saying, "Oh, if this happens, I'm going to move out of the country." No one fucking moved out of the country. So, like, you got to stay constructive. You got to stay positive. You got to stay in that mindset, in my opinion, that you're in it with these people. And sometimes you do need to laugh together. They say comedy is one of those great equalizers, that if you can agree upon the humor of a joke, no matter what your other beliefs are, that you'll find common ground. You'll find that lightness again. You'll find almost the humor in the seriousness that you've found yourself in. And I'm not saying that. I think I brought up SNL earlier. I think this is something that we've been doing as a country for multiple decades, since SNL was around in the 70s, is that every time there was a a presidential debate, especially, there was one person that played this person, there's one person that played this person, and everyone fucking laughed.
Yeah.
And it was a stress reliever.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I actually watched SNL.
You watched a couple skits the other night. Bill Burr was hilarious.
Yeah. You showed me the skit where the Sam Adams skit with Bill Burr.
That was fantastic.
He takes a sip of the Jacko ale, whatever, and just spits it back
the
in.
pumpkin one, yeah. Gotta love Boston. We didn't do the Southie movie marathon this year.
Oh, that was great. And then you showed the one with Casey Affleck and Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Those were both very, very, very funny. But no, it's just it's never really been a thing that like. I kind of wish, back in the day when you had people like Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, some of those original members back in the day, like, they poking fun at everybody, didn't matter. Now it's kind of leans one side or the other, and some people, the people that agree with them find it funny. The people that don't agree with them don't watch it.
So that's the whole thing with this is that, I on one hand I say that, all the professional sports that are using their quote platform for, whatever their belief is or whatever they feel like they need to get across. I can appreciate it. We have a very small platform here, and I love Tyler Hill says, "Hey, Jacko is pretty good." Tyler, again, don't get offended. If you're getting offended over Jacko, I love Tyler. He's good too. If you get offended, there's a reason we see the view count go up and down week to week. We see a view count go up as we go through a Wednesday night. Some people are really enjoying it. Other people might chime in and be like, "Oh, these guys have gotten, they're talking about what they're talking about tonight." You're not into it. That's fine. We keep doing it week in, week out. Ian says, I'm going to throw it up on the screen. I think this is a great point. I would love to see everyone talking about people's rights actually practice what they preach. Here's the thing is I think that most do. I think the loudest people may not. And,
there you go.
I don't think that there's ever really the ill intentions. There are out there, when you talk about hate groups and stuff like that. But I think some of the ill-intended comments or ill-intended misconstrued comments are exactly that. They're sometimes misconstrued. I think if you use the wrong word and you're a supporter of one side, or you're, God forbid, you're not a supporter of the side that you are coming from, I think that that's something that we have really found out is very much human nature. I think that I'm tired of hearing these people talk about, well, if they listen to scientists, and it's like, oh, are you a medical background? And they're like, oh, you're gonna, I'll listen to your comments based on this if you have if you're a doctor or whatever, but I'd rather listen to these people. And it's like, you don't fucking know these people. You don't know what their intentions are. You're taking this from the media standpoint, or even worse, the social media standpoint. If you get your news from Twitter, and then you go judge people or treat people that way, which happens.
Yes.
A lot, as Shannon says in the background. I think that this is something that we do need a laugh. We need more comedy. One of the people I follow on Twitter that is extremely liberal and very anti-Trump and very anti a lot of things right now is Chelsea Handler. And at one time I thought she was funny. Now I don't. I just saw that she tweeted today, I think it was, because I follow both sides and everywhere in between, because I think I've said that before recently, is that I feel like you need to follow people you don't agree with, both personally and also maybe publicly, because you can get something from it and see, you can educate yourself, and maybe something will strike your fancy. You're like, you know what? Hang on, let me read this article that they're talking about. She's doing a comedy special. And it was really hard for her, according to her tweet, I believe. I'm paraphrasing, but she thought it was time to do a comedy special. After the last several months, she's been very, very vocal about what's going on in the country. And it's like, cool, I hope that sells well. Are you donating all that stuff? Probably not.
So what do you do when you need a laugh? With everything going on, like if you
I used to drink. That hasn't worked out as well. What do I turn to for a laugh? It's funny, man. There's some escapes out there, right? And I've tried to do some things with Liz. As far as watching shows, watching sitcoms. Last night we were, because she's into some she loves Friends. You know what I mean? But she listens to true crime stuff. She. Last several nights, what was the Bly Manor? Have you guys seen this on Netflix? It's the House at Bly Manor or something like that. It's a new horror thing, and she's literally stressing herself out. She'll watch it and she'll stay up until 2 a.m. And literally, I went to bed. I came out to pour a glass of water, and she had all the lights off and everything else. And I'm like, "Are you just trying to scare yourself?"
She's watching a horror series in the dark. By herself.
And she's
the kind of person that in a horror film would be like one of the first ones to die, like in the Geico commercial. Like, no, let's hide behind the chainsaws.
And I thought that was funny. But so I've been watching some mindless comedies. I found it's a Showtime show that is not on the air anymore. Episodes that had Matt LeBlanc in there playing Matt LeBlanc. And there's some good English humor in there because there's 2 English writers, and it's just one of those things that you just binge it, and it's funny. It's not even good funny. It's just funny. Like there's a reason that it was on for like 5 seasons. It's no longer. It's like it ran its course. Wasn't that funny, but people just watched it because they liked Joey from Friends, and they actually talk about because it is Matt LeBlanc post Friends, and so like they make fun of him. It's stupid. Now The Unicorn is a show that's got.
Not familiar with that one.
Unicorn's got, and I don't know his name, but he was in Justified. He was in Sons of Anarchy. He was the bad guy in Justified that had Timothy Oliphant. Anyways, he is a widower with two daughters, and it's this group of 2 other couples. Rob Corddry's in it, which I love. Rob Corddry. He was in Hot Tub Time Machine and a couple others. He's the bald guy, just over the top fun. Like, I call him funny, offensive to other people. But it's these like mindless ones. And Liz let me watch that last night because we're watching it, and she laughs at me laughing, and at the same time she started finding some of it funny too, because even though she's in her 20s, and these people are like parents in their 40s and 50s. It's like this is home life. This is groups of friends as adults, and it is this and it is feel good, right? So everyone's doing well. They're all in big houses. They all have good jobs. It's like obviously filmed in probably California, so it's like sun's out all the time. They're outside. Everyone's like building each other up and taking care of each other. That's the feel good. That's me trying to cheer myself up and trying to laugh. I get to the point where this last couple weeks, to be honest, I started definitely losing myself in that, and my motivation was lacking. My anxiety level, which I don't really recognize a lot of times, was rising. And I think I look around at what I'm fueling myself with, and I haven't said it in a while, but I think that the hand in front of your face type of a thing is what everyone is living right now. The hand in front of your face is this election coming up. It's the people around you. It's the viewpoints. It's supporting everyone yet hating everyone. It's this all of this shit. I had to move my hand out in front of my face, and I'm looking at it. I'm like tonight, need a laugh. Who needs a laugh? I didn't even know what to talk about. I telling Nate the last couple of weeks, I don't even fucking know what to do with this podcast because it's like it's the same goddamn thing over again. I said it a couple of weeks ago that some of the podcasts I listen to, they haven't even aired some of their audio podcasts because they are literally saying this. Like everyone is caught in Groundhog's Day, and it's like I'm not even worried as much about what happens, like what is the turning point of COVID for people. It's what happens in fucking mid-November when the election's over. What happens in December? 2021, let's not even talk about COVID-19. What happens in America and the rest of the world, mind you, based on the outcome of this election? Like, it's not like, oh, we did it no matter what side you're on. It's literally like, oh, that happened. Now I have to wake up on a Thursday. Right? I mean, like that. No one thinks like that right now. So that's where it's like, who needs a laugh? It's like you have to really pull yourself out of this right now, not wait until the election's over, wait till 2020 is over, wait till COVID gets a vaccine. It has to be pull yourself out right now, find something that makes you laugh, and don't feel guilty about laughing if you can. If you're in a third world country and you're starving, first of all, you're not listening to this podcast, right?
True.
This is fact of the matter. We do need to help that. I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm not trying to be funny here. I think that this is something that you have to realize that not everyone has the opportunity to laugh all the time, but there are plenty of people, like when I was down, in Cuba and stuff like that, and I see what they're dealing with. They are still smiling. They're still having a good time. They are trying to make the best out of every day that they're given, and that is the inspiration that I think a lot of us need right now. What do you think, Nate? You've been quiet. Shannon says Hot Pockets.
Because that was a reference to his Jim Gaffigan comment earlier. Caliente pocket. That's good. It's almost as good as your By Men.
Ian says he needs some Dennis Leary stat. No shit. His skit about...
we just had someone tune in from Hawaii.
Daily Ash. What's up, the Daily Ash from Hawaii? Cheers.
Shout out to you. No, I mean, for me, it's I can't.
How do you follow up my random rant about nothing?
Hard.
It's a good pour.
That's why I'm pouring.
Ray Chester tuned in and has not said anything. He's like, oh god.
Yeah, here we go. No, well, it's good to see Ray back, or have Ray back. For me, I kind of talked about it a little bit last night with the guest that was in the shop. You can call it a blessing or a curse. I have this, like, I find myself a lot of times just emotionally distancing myself from a lot of things, and it stems back to over the last few years, really. Cutting out some of the negativity in my life because I don't like having other people have that much control over my emotions. Because there's some people that are just so negative all the time, and it was bringing me down. Not you.
Side note, yesterday, Nate looked at me with the dead eyes, and I realized that, when you guys see Nate on this show and normally see Nate, he laughs a lot. He makes the best of situations, but when he sees that I am struggling, we've become close friends. He looks at me with these dead eyes, and I'm like looking for a response, and he just like he takes his cigar up, and he's like,
"I do the power move, the Dino Tripodis power move."
Kind of looks at me, he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." All right, and I just like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I think I need to go back in the humidor."
No, I mean,
before you go on your 20-minute rant on camera.
No, but I mean, that's one of the things I do like about us working together at the shop on Tuesday nights is like, and I always ask, how you're doing, like, what's up, how are your days off and stuff like that, because I legitimately care. I was saying it last night, like, I referred back to something I said in my closing remarks several weeks ago, where I said, I don't care about people, I care about persons. There are certain persons that I do care about, and I care how they are doing. Because if I try and focus on too big of a picture, then if I focus on too much, I don't focus on anything.
Yeah, I think that's where we lose it. I don't think it's too much. I think it's too many people.
Yeah.
To your point of like you care about persons more than you care about people.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get tied into. I've been thinking about that statement you made, and I think that it's something that is part of the issue, is that you're not caring about persons as much. You care about, not you, I'm saying people, you out there care about people so much that you forget about the individual person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To your point, it's the contradiction to your point in a sense, or the compliment / the other side of your statement is that you have so much concern about people in general that you don't fucking care about an individual person.
No, I care about the individual.
Not you.
Okay.
Saying the other side of the statement. And maybe we're getting too deep, too dark. I'm just saying that is something that, in general, what you see out there right now is that everyone cares about everyone, but they don't care about anyone.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, so
as a contradiction to what your viewpoint is, which I actually appreciate. If you can expand or find a middle ground, like always, it's balance. You care about individuals, but also you do care about people.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I had joked around with the guests last night. I was like, the person, the people that are down in Barnes and Noble or what, I don't give a shit about them right now. I don't know who's in there.
You don't like books?
No, I love books. Okay, Cheesecake Factory. How about that? Whatever.
You don't like an 18-page menu? I got it.
18 page? They cut it down. Yeah, to grab your damn cigars. But no, I was like, dude, look, I don't care about, because that person was talking about all their feelings and emotions that they see everyone else going through, and it just kind of brings them down. And I'm like, look, dude, I don't care about what those people over there are doing, because I have no control over that. You're here, you're in front of me. Like, I care about you right now. Like, what's going on with you? Like, Shannon's sitting here in the garage right now. Like, I don't care what's going on with the people down the street. I care about what's going on with Steve. I care about what's going on with Shannon. Like, I care about the people that are close to me, the people that I can have an impact on.
Yeah.
And so I show a level of care to those people, and to the people that sit there and think big picture of caring about people. Guess what? If you care about the people around you, and they care about the people around them, and they care about the people around them, guess what? Then everyone's cared for. Like, you don't have to take it on all by yourself. You don't have to care about everybody all the time. Care about yours. Care about what's around you.
All right, let me
care of that.
Let me bring this in, because I Ian's our newest patron, right? And I threw it up on the screen. He said, "Damn, maybe I've not drank enough for this type of learning." Yeah, no, I mean, and then he follows up, "Perhaps we should get to laughing that folks need." You don't understand. That's a good punchline. That's funny, because this is where we get at. Like, even us, like even me, that's the whole thing, is when, like, Nate's like, what are we talking about this week? And I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. It's because I'm fucking beat up. You know what I mean?
I get it.
I had a couple of good weekends. I went away for the cabin weekend with some close friends. I got shit about going there with people that aren't close to me, and we spent a weekend together because of COVID. And I'm like, all right, well, no, it was a small group, so we're trying to be safe. We were outdoors most. Like, I'm forcing myself to defend myself just in front of people that I barely know. That wears on people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Side note, before we get back to the punchline, you guys all talk about fucking seasonal depression. You haven't seen anything yet until this season.
We talked about it a year ago.
It's gonna be worse. It's gonna be worse. Anyways,
I think it was around November that we actually talked about that. because we were talking about the sun going down earlier, not as much daylight.
Well, that's seasonal depression. I'm saying now it's like we've been shutting people down for 7-8 months now, and it's like we haven't found the quote solution that everyone's looking for. So now you're going to be shut down after that much time again, and it's getting dark, and it's normal seasonal depression, and also, oh yeah, all you people that out there are like, oh, you don't care about the 200,000+ deaths that happened in the United States. Well, in 2018, you fucking didn't care about the 60-some thousand people that died from influenza, so go fuck yourselves. Is the way I look at that. So, anyways, back to the funny. It's not the punchline, Shannon. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, so LJ, he put some thought in this, so I'm gonna throw it up on the screen. By caring about quote persons end quote instead of quote people end quote. Is that a means to disconnect from the emotional side of connecting to people, he puts in parentheses, and also a means of self-protection from being hurt, wounded, etc., end parentheses. Just a thought as I'm logging on late. That's to you, Nate. Because that is your saying right now.
So is it a means to disconnect from the emotional side? No. Because I'm connecting emotionally with the people that I care about. So I'm not trying to spend my time and energy on what I can't control. Like, for example, if anyone follows me on any type of social media, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, if you look at my Instagram, it's pictures of cigars and whiskey and stuff like that. If you look at pictures on my Facebook, it's the same thing. Or when I did the Bourbon and Bullets event a couple weeks ago and met some really great people there, and just people hanging out, having a good time, centered around common interests. I'm caring about those people and the people that I'm not trying to sit there and make everyone on social media see my viewpoint. I don't care if you know my viewpoint on a topic or not. I know my viewpoint. If you want to share your viewpoint, that's fine. Good for you. I know what I can control. I know what I can't control. And other people, it's like I go back to, I realized years ago that there were too many people having a negative impact on me and how I felt, and it was messing with my anxiety, as you talked about, Steve, with stuff that you've been going on, and it was making me pissed off all the time, and I don't like that. And that's when I made that decision, like, you know what, I'm not going to let all these other people have that impact. And I still see people there on social media that I'm friends with that will just all the time, they're putting out negative stuff. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep scrolling past you, because if I read it and I read the 57 comments that come after it, like if I read through those comments, that's because there's a fight going on and there's a social media.
It's called a Twitter war.
Well, I don't get on Twitter. I have a Twitter account, but I'm not on Twitter.
Still, I think it's a universal.
But it's like, I'm going to read your guys' stuff and it's going to give me anxiety. It's going to fire me up. But am I going to change how either party feels? No. So why do I get involved with it? Like, if it gets down to, like, if I can't share something positive, I'm not going to share anything.
I love it when you're not the producer. You don't pay attention to me talking to the microphone.
I'm staying centered, I think.
Your beard is, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching the levels, and you keep fading away as you're talking to Shannon. Shannon, will you scoot up or actually frame yourself into his microphone? Or level 3?
Are you messing with mine?
He's putting it. He's jacking it up. Now you're gonna blow out the speakers. Avi says he sells Lexapro for $9.99 a pill. I don't know if that's real. Maybe I've now incriminated him. Avi is also a great IT guy, but apparently he has a side business on Livingston and James. I think that's a joke. Is Lexapro what is that, like a numbing thing? You don't know, but you're going to take it. Yeah, that's good. See, you evolved and grown since your last podcast.
But I think with everything that's gone on, and it's not
if
just
your significant other Shannon is listening, he's joking.
No,
Avi says LOL. He's laughing out loud to the bank.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, he actually then just said just kidding. So
I think JK means something else in the.
All right. But
LJ says antidepressant. LJ is all about this. He actually is very, very knowledgeable on this, from my understanding. So, antidepressant. And that is a good business that's going to be coming out of this COVID thing.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've seen an uptick in depression, in suicides, in substance abuse. No one talks about the substance abuse.
Who needs a laugh? Where's the punchline here?
Am I supposed to tell a joke right now? Like what?
I'm just saying the subject.
But no, I mean,
this is one of those weeks. Everyone listening, like this is one of the weeks we don't have a guest. This is just us talking, and we're actually talking with the audience, which I absolutely love. This is more of that conversational type of a podcast. And Shannon, we should have just brought you up on the screen. Honestly, just like the table. You can scoot up to the microphone if you want to just get on the audio if you want to be a part of this, because we got a little bit while left. LJ says, yeah, he's fucked up and like to talk. LOL. Good on all accounts.
Yeah. No, I mean what I was
as long as you're home, I hope that you're fucked up.
If I can't share something or say something that's going to make someone happy, like not everything I have to do has to make someone get a laugh necessarily, but if I post something and it makes someone feel worse, like I'm doing a disservice to that person.
I have had to pull up from the fucking mountains when someone posts something, especially someone I care about, they post something and they feel like they're making a point, and then I see something where I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. Now I need to look into this. And I find something that is not contradicting, but I have tried to not only pull up, that's my number one go-to is to pull up. But the follow-up there is that if I want to address the things that they're talking about, they're trying to prove a point or they're trying to share information based on their opinion, is I will personally message them and say, hey, I came across this article based on what you said from the other side. What are your thoughts on this?
Instead of posting it on their feeds for the entire world to see.
Right. I think this is
trying
more
to keep
constructive.
you're trying to keep the conversation.
I'm not trying to get that person to repost something else or take down their post. I'm saying, all right, so you've stoked my fire. Now I'm interested. I think you might have some good points. However, I have found this, and now I'm trying to do this. This is where I come back to, and people are commenting on the feed about the laughter part of it, is that I think that if you make light of a serious situation, it can come across wrong. So now you have to, sorry everyone, address people directly. I know this is foreign to a lot of people, but if you have social media, there is a messenger aspect of this. If you follow them, you can actually message them personally. Furthermore, if you are actually friends with this person and have their cell phone, you can text them and say, hey, I want to talk to you about what you posted because I'm curious. And by the way, I'll give a disclaimer. I'm not trying to change your mind, but I think I would actually like to get a little more information and actually supply you with what I'm seeing and tell me if it's bullshit or not. And also, I'm going to take it up a notch. Hey, are you ever free that we can get coffee? This is still a thing. I work by Starbucks.
Well, nowadays, people take, when you repost something with their name tagged to it, they almost take it as a challenge to their beliefs.
Like you're calling them out.
Yeah, it's not a discussion.
Are you calling us out right now, Shannon?
100%.
You son of a bitch.
There we go.
Can we ban him again from the garage?
No.
That's a one-time
He
deal.
still showed up after the last time he
I
came.
served my 24 hours.
It was 24 hours, yeah. No, it also made me think of something else that we talked about a little bit last night that happened after last week's episode, like off camera and stuff that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like what someone else said, guess what? You have the ability to block that person. So that way, if you think someone said something bad to you or just calling you out, guess what? You can block that person. So that way, you never see what they say again. Now you don't have to worry about it. Now you don't have to get pissed off. Now you don't have to worry about if they called you a name or something. Like, you're grown ass people. You're adults. Quit acting like fucking children.
People like to live in their feelings right now. That's the biggest problem. It's all emotional. It's not logic. It's not facts. It's emotions like, you hurt
Shannon,
my feelings.
I've said that, and I actually do believe that to a point, and I've used the this is not insulting to one side or the other of any issue. It's, you can talk about feelings, you can talk about all that stuff, but at some point, you have to talk like adults or have the viewpoint of that the adults are talking now. Now we actually have to make tough decisions. I have grown to the point, in my opinion, and you guys can disagree with this, and anyone out there can disagree with this, is that I think the feelings actually do, they play a factor in facts. Feelings have a role in all this stuff. The issue that I see is that we have segmented and put into compartments feelings, facts, truths, which is very small because we don't know what truth is anymore unless you're actually the fucking doctor doing the COVID test. Yeah, you're the only one that knows. The rest of us are all just listening to you by way of 18 people that have translated this to the rest of us. I agree with you. I think that you need to. I think that there are things on social media that you can actually take away people's feed. You can block them temporarily. You can block them permanently. You can just basically mute them. And a lot of people don't realize that. And there are some times in life that you have these conversations, like we banned you from the garage, jokingly. But I mean, if I actually said, "Hey, Shannon, I don't want to talk to you for a while. We get in this argument," and you're like, "All right, let me reach out. Like, hey, I'm sorry about what I said," or I say the same thing. You don't respond back. 30 days later, 60 days later, I mean, you don't. It's not as structured as some of these mute things, mute notifications, mute comments, or block. You don't have to say goodbye to that person, but sometimes you need to take a step back. We've gone away from, in my opinion, the who needs a laugh. I think this conversation is very much imperative to why I chose that conversation based on what we were talking about with that rep last night. Was who needs a laugh? Ian said it.
Everyone needs a laugh.
We need it. Tony Barbuto says unfollowing can be a great stress reliever. I think he's talking in general. He might be talking about this show.
I hope not. Hope not. But
when I first saw
thanks for stopping by the shop today. I know you're out in town a whole lot, but thanks for buying some cigars before you unfollowed us.
I was like, oh shit.
But no, I mean, the unfollowing thing. I mean, let's not take it to people. Let's say it was an organization. I mean, if you were following an organization and everything they said just made you see red and get fired up and just made you pissed off and it ruined your day, like, quit following that, because it's making you a terrible person. It is having way too much of an impact. Like, if you're what you should
say organization, I say people. I say individuals also fall into that.
Yeah,
it's not just organizations. There are people in your life that you talk to.
What I think some people need to do is, if they see someone or an organization, whatever, say something or post something that they don't agree with, like, all right, fine, cool. That's your opinion. I respect you for your opinion. All right. And that's it. That's all the impact it has on you. You know, like it
Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, I was just going to say, with me working in the barber shop, it's constant all day long. Like, on both sides of the fence, whatever the topic is, from COVID to politics.
You get what we don't get anymore in the cigar shop, because everyone, equates us to a barbershop, right? You know,
right.
If that was Ian, that's people, countless people before that they're
right.
literally like, this is like an old school barbershop. Like, we hang out, we talk about it, everyone's got different viewpoints, and there's always that one person that at one point will get offended and walk out, and then they come back because they realize that they just lost their cool and they felt maybe outnumbered. But then they realized the people that they were talking to are their close friends, and it's like
those people legitimately care for them.
Well, and emotions took over, and they've been laughing. Who needs a laugh? They laugh with these people. Like this Sycamore whiskey, 99% of the time that
98.9, 98.9,
99.
Like,
you're
literally, when we first came back from the shutdown, guy comes into the shop bitching and yelling at everybody who didn't have a mask, because we gave people an option then, and the masks weren't a mandatory thing, right? It was kind of like a wear a mask if you feel this or whatever.
Yeah.
One guy comes in and starts bitching and yelling, and like at the top of his voice, bitching out about people not wearing a mask, and the whole shop is uncomfortable, right? And he's just going on telling like people are stupid, blah blah blah. Literally 30 minutes after he left, a guy comes in on the other side. People that wear masks are stupid, and like makes the shop uncomfortable again. It's just so the whole shop mentality. People, it's not as bad now. It's not a major focal point, but I have to walk that line with each customer about their views, because I can't really get into it with them. I don't want to offend them.
You do you.
Right. I let them blow off the steam. I listen. I comment. But it could be taxing. There's some days I get home, I'm just like, shit, man.
You're not watching the feed because you're on the other side of this, but I'm going to throw it up there. Again, Ian says, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry. On the audio, oh, you got that up there. Yeah, so for those that, like, Ian's not a part of this. He is a patron, and he's now a newer. Clearly, there are some people that actually take a lot from this. So if you're listening to this after the fact, if someone shares it to you, I know we go long, and I need to dedicate a little bit more of my week. I need to actually dedicate more of my week schedule-wise to dissect some of this stuff, because I think that there is a lot of potential with this show, and even I get to that point where, like I said, like I was saying, I came in on Tuesday, and Nate's like, "What are we going to talk about?" I'm like, "Fuck," felt like saying like, "Fuck you, man." You know. No, it's not towards him. It's just
no. I know why. I knew why when you said it.
I didn't say "fuck you."
No, I know you didn't.
I meant it though. No, I'm just kidding. No,
no, because
this isn't the full-time gig. This is something that you fit in. That actually, there's a passion there, and there's something that, you know, there's more to it. There's more people involved. Like. To your comment, Nate, there are more persons involved that are invested in this. So, Shannon, Ian says, I spent 30 years in uniform and paid some heavy prices for the freedoms we should all hold dear. So I have to afford those freedoms to people I find disgusting, or then I fall into that trap. Principles aren't principles if you pick and choose when to apply them. I agree with that, Ian, and I agree with you, Shannon, on that. I think it's a valid point. What I find in a slight contradiction to that, possibly, is your principles over those, he says, 30 years. What I find in our face all the time right now, and Shannon says on the feed, "Thank you for your service," and I apologize for breezing over that. Thank you for your service. I think that 30 years ago, Ian and everyone else had different viewpoints. So this whole cut and dry bullshit that everyone's talking about these days, I was watching, I don't know, I didn't watch the first 2 days of the Supreme Court hearing, for the appointment. We had the opportunity, sadly. We did all right business-wise, but today in the shop, Brian and I I put it up on C-SPAN, which I didn't know was still a news station, but we put it up on the TV, and we're listening to this, and it's shocking. I mean, it's shocking, and it's also very, very much expected, just like the first presidential debate, that it's these people. There's no questions. There's very few questions towards the appointee.
You have some people that basically
make 4 or 5 minutes
of a campaign speech and
of assumptions and trying to twist and turn your way into it. So it's like what Ian's saying is that the freedoms that we hold dear, you can take for granted no matter what, right? So they forget or they take for granted, like he said, he finds it, he falls into the trap. You got to actually realize that the freedoms that one person takes for granted or takes as the obvious, that you have a dialogue or a scenario that is called into that topic that isn't cut and dry. Or you take something that someone said, and I'm not defending anyone in the like, I'm not defending, what is it, the Supreme Court appointee Barrett?
Amy
right?
Coney Barrett.
But I'm watching this today, and it's like, in 2003, you actually said this. This is a two sentence excerpt of a 50-page paper that you said this, and she responded. She's sharp, right? And I'm not saying like she should be the person. I'm not making a political view. I don't know her. I didn't look into it. If I was on the Senate committee, I would put way more effort into this because that's my fucking job. But I'm looking at these people, Republican and Democrat, and it's like, all right, you're Republican. Obviously, I see what you're doing here. You're a Democrat. I see what you're doing here. And there's this one Democrat from Delaware that he's asking these questions. He has these things printed behind him. And she's like, well, that was actually an excerpt out of this, which was about this. And it was more or less unrelated to the way it's been spun recently. Not only it was 17 years ago, but it was not even about, it was about the Court of Appeals, not the Supreme Court. And she's, once again, she made clear about, as my role in the Supreme Court, I put this on, like this black robe on, and I'm not following my party.
Personal beliefs.
Or personal beliefs. She's judging based on her understanding of law and this. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I saw the first 2 days on Twitter from the left, and you were this not great person. I saw this person on the right in Twitter, and you were this amazing person. And then I actually sat down and listened to this whole day-long interview, if that's what you call it.
Job interview.
And I'm just appalled by most of the senators, Republican and Democrat. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man.
Absolutely.
So I look at what Ian said, and I look at these principles that he says that if you pick and choose to apply them, he's absolutely right. He is spot on. This is not how this works. You can't pick a Bible verse to condemn or condone anything. And that's not a religious statement. This is something that I grew up with, and now I'm not very religious at all, actually. I'm not religious at all. But it's like people actually will pick Bible verses to pick their points. It says on this book, this chapter, this verse, and you're like, yeah, but you read the.
Do you know who he was talking to?
The verse before and after, and also, do you know who that letter was written to? Right. And they're like, what?
Yeah. No, trust me. I mean, someone who's grown up in the church, and my late stepfather was a pastor. That is even something that my stepfather from the pulpit would bring up. Like, because when he would preach on a text, he would actually give the background to that text. Like, here's who wrote it. Here's who they are talking to. Because sometimes who they were talking to mattered how it was applied. Like if you were to read the Gospels, the first 4 books of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, each 4 of those people had a different viewpoint. The way he would describe it, it'd be like if there was a car accident at an intersection, and you have someone standing at each corner. Yep. They all have their different viewpoints of what happened. They all saw things differently, but they were also writing to a specific audience, or they were writing from a certain background. So one person's writing this story, talking about the lineage of King David. One person is writing this story because they were a doctor and they were writing to this king. So it's the same story, but different viewpoints to different audiences. That's why in those 4 books, there are some stories in some of them, and some stories are left out of some of them. And they would even say different things because it's who it's written to. And that's kind of what I think Steve was going to. I wish Steve, hurry and get the fuck back here. No.
You guys can't talk among yourself.
I didn't know where else you wanted to go after that. No.
We rarely do.
It's all off the cuff. This is not scripted. We have a topic. We have a structure.
You want me to get the whiteboard out?
I swear to God, that's my whiteboard. No. Oh gosh, I miss you.
What did I miss? Oh
no, you left after you're talking about something about the Bible and how people take the Bible sometimes out of context.
Jeez.
And so I was actually saying that that's something that my stepdad, as a pastor,
we're getting rough on the feed there. You see that?
Would do is he made sure, like, no, this thing that was said, this isn't applying to like all of this stuff. Like, this was written to these people. It's meant for those people. It's being applied to those people in that situation. Like, quit trying to apply this one sentence, like what you were talking about with the Supreme Court hearing. Like, no, this is what was said about this topic. Quit trying to apply it to something else that's completely unrelated.
All right, so we're getting some choppy feedback. I think maybe Facebook is throttling us because this is what happens. But once again, it could be a true crime thing going on. Like, what is it, like 4K or HD, Dolby, whatever the new TV that we got is doing. Great picture.
I did have someone who's watching on YouTube saying it's starting to get a little bit glitchy.
That's what I'm saying. I think it might be, the Spectrum thing, or storms are coming.
Get off the Wi-Fi.
Nah, so I'll start the someone says I can't see you guys. If you guys can hear us, and hopefully it comes back, I'll start the closing remarks. And Nate, you can chime in. Shannon, you got a mic there. This is what it's all about for me, is that all you guys out there that are listening, and if you're on the audio, I know Bobby Hirschman and some others, he says they can hear us. It's great to see each other. That's always the way it works. But it comes down to the message. Tyler says, I thought it was my drink.
Thanks for the laugh, Tyler. Thank you.
Also, Ian says, "Promise I speak better than I text." See, that's what I love about this. is so we have a great community. We haven't mentioned it tonight. The Bourbon and BS community page. We're at 1,200 plus people that are involved in that. And
1224, I believe I saw today.
I don't know. Cindy, and thanks for coming in, Cindy, to the shop. You were in from out of town. We can hear just fine. Don't need to see your faces. I'm also offended by that.
You don't want to see this beard? Like, come on.
So here's the thing. I'll start the closing remarks. We all need to laugh, always. I think comedy has had a role in people's lives for very, very long time, before any of us were alive. And you know, comedy is lost in a lot of people, and I think that it's also very much. I can tell you guys, you know, we try, because people make fun of me talking about age on this podcast, but me turning 40 and also now in a relationship with someone. You don't have whiskey in there, but I'll drink to that.
No, I was only drinking like when you would sit there and say, I'm getting ready to.
The point is,
now we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Take a drink, though.
I'll drink just because I want to drink.
Yeah, okay.
Not because you told me to.
40. No, so as someone that is, 40 and in a relationship with a now 26-year-old, there are some comedies that so Tommy Boy was on the other night, right? And I'm watching it, and yeah, exactly. Shannon's already going into quotes. I can literally quote. Bobby Hirsch, is Steve drunk or is it that delayed? Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. I'm getting delay on my iPad. I don't want to restart anything because we might lose you guys in the recording. Hopefully Spectrum fixes this. But so watching Tommy Boy, I think that, Liz didn't. She gets it, but it is a little bit subjective to the time you're alive. I got to be honest, everyone. I've been listening to music from the 90s recently. It's an escape for me. I was born in 1980. What I found interesting about listening to 90s music, based on what's going on in this world today, is some of the shit I used to listen to it's the goddamn same. This shit's been going on for years, for decades, centuries, as we all know. And the jokes about it with like Bill Burr on SNL, like he didn't dive into it, but I got to tell you is that it's a work in progress. Who needs to laugh? Everyone. We need to enjoy each other's company. And I encourage everyone to get out of their comfort zone. It's not me being bald and white, 40 years old, living in the suburbs. And I will tell you, this is a, if you will, lower end suburb, lower end neighborhood than what I grew up in. I had friends that literally lived in this neighborhood when I was in high school, and I remember in high school looking at like, oh, this is Westboro City Schools too. Like, this is different. This is not 2,000 to 3,000 square feet of new builds. This is not the same kind of neighborhood I grew up in. So I think there's a self-realization there that if you open your mind, as cliche as that may be, is that the greatest thing I can say, my biggest blessing to this whole thing, the whole situation we're in, is that at my age, when I tell my girlfriend or I tell someone else at the wedding or the brunch this last weekend, is that you tell me what your sexual orientation is, or what was frowned upon this last week, even though it was shown that other people have said this term, sexual preference. I mean no disrespect that I don't care. I mean it as a compliment. I don't care. I think that's the point. I care about you. I care about you being represented. I don't care. I will, if you come over the house, I'm offering you a drink. I don't care. You're a person. I think that's the goal here. You're a person. I don't care what you make. I don't care who you want to be with. I don't care who you identify with. I don't mean the fact I don't care as an insult. I look at you as an individual. That's it.
It's kind of like the cigar shop community where you can have a group of people sitting around smoking cigars, and it really doesn't matter what they do for a living, what they're smoking.
To that matter, I don't care what you're smoking. I don't care if you don't smoke. But if you're there, we have a conversation. We have a comment, and Bobby says it's so delayed. That's fine. I don't know what's going on with the internet. I paid our bill. It's fine. But the point is I think this is the level of who needs a laugh. I think that the laughter part of it, the comedy part of it, is simply it's a resounding I don't care to the point of I do care. I know it sounds stupid. Maybe people think that I'm drunk, but my biggest thing is that I do care about everyone. I do care. I welcome everyone into my home. And I was talking to someone recently about this, and I was talking about a recent conversation that I had, and it's not as recent now, but that I had with Liz. And I've had this conversation with other people. And even, like I said, on Sunday, when I had this conversation with some people that were of the liberal mindset, and one of those people was a friend of mine that I've had for quite some time that is gay. He's homosexual, and he's at the wedding by himself. And as I'm saying, hey, I'm not going to say his name, but give me a hug, man. It's good to see you.
Because he's a person.
And he's like, you Trump supporter. And I'm like, my joke back was he literally walked out to the sidewalk and he rode with someone. He's like, hey, where are we parked? And I said, hey, I think you're parked over way to the left. And I'm respecting his, I know it's going to turn, I think our viewer count's going to go down or up. I don't know who's watching. But I think I respect what he's saying. But I'm like, brother, like, it's still me. And this is what I'm trying to show you is that I'm looking at certain things every day of my life. And unfortunately, I am up against the same voting things and the same everyday struggles that everyone deals with. I get it. I'm not a part of your viewpoint, but now appreciate where I'm coming from, and I got your back for what it's worth. Even though you don't see that, like I literally don't. I got to reframe my mindset. As my closing remarks, I got to reframe my mindset is that it's not the fact that I don't care, because that's how I look at it.
I knew where you were getting at.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Because a lot of people that are moderates, that are in the middle, that are what people consider themselves as, or not themselves as people consider other people as stereotypes, when you really dive into it, it's because they think maybe the way that I've thought for a long time is that I don't care. I don't care who you want to be with. I don't care what color your skin is. But I have, because I don't care about it, maybe I have neglected some of the struggles that you've gone through or what you're going through. So now I got to change it to I do care. But that is being piggybacked on the mindset of not caring.
Well,
it's to the point that we need to, if something needs to be changed so that we don't care about it, if that makes sense. If we need to change legislation, if we need to change other people's mindset to not care so that they in fact do care about it, so that they change it or support it, I know that I'm not alone. The fact that when I preach the fact that I don't care, if you come into my house, and I think that's the way that a lot of people need to think. If you come into my house, I will offer you a beer. I will offer you this. What I do care about is that if you're an asshole, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because you're an asshole. You can be a straight white asshole. You can be a homosexual black asshole. You can be a female. You can be a male. You can be any gender that you identify with. I'm watching the viewer count go down here. If you're an asshole, get the fuck out. Other than that, if you're not an asshole, got your back.
Well, it kind of goes to what I said that same episode when I had said the line, I don't care about people, I care about persons.
Right.
I brought up check boxes. Like I don't care what boxes you check that you identify with. Like I'm not gonna like you or dislike you as a person because of whatever boxes you check. Like I'm gonna the only box, kind of like what you were talking about, the only box I care about is, are you a dick? Are you cool? Are you someone I'd want to hang out with? Like I hang out with people that don't see the same way I do. That's fine. I still hang out with them because if you only hear from one side, you're not going to grow. That's one of the reasons why, Steve, that you've brought up, like you look at both sides. Because if all you listen to are people that agree with you, like you're never going to grow. You're never going to know how to defend your position.
I appreciate you associating yourself with assholes like Shannon. And
because I am one, or no, it talking about who needs a laugh. Right when you started your closing remarks, someone had sent me a message, talking about being offended or comedy and stuff like that. Someone brought up Blazing Saddles.
Could not be made today.
Could not be remade today because everyone is so offended by everything.
Actually, it's 2020 and you can't say anything, but you can say whatever the fuck you want. So it could be made today. Mel Brooks would make millions once again today.
And Mel Brooks made that movie, and he was poking fun at everybody. And there are some people that watch that movie and they take offense to some of the language that was used for that movie. It also reminded me of the movie Django Unchained, because Leonardo DiCaprio, I think it was, during part of his scenes, like he was having trouble saying a particular word, and it was Samuel L. Jackson that took him aside. He goes, "Look, dude, like we're both in this together. I know that's not you." It's the same thing that happened on the set of Blazing Saddles decades earlier. The black guy in the movie, he's like, "Look, I know that's not you. I know you're having a hard time saying it. I know it's not you.
Right.
We're gonna make fun of everybody. Like that's not how you are. I know this is for a laugh. Let's laugh. Let's enjoy ourselves, because at the end of the day, we're gonna hang out together. We're gonna smoke a cigar. We're gonna drink. Maybe not those guys, but us.
Right.
When you're talking about who needs a laugh, like everyone, like even millennia ago, kings had court jesters. Why? Because they still need to be entertained. Like their job is a serious job. If you're ruling over a country, over a city, over a state, whatever, like that's a serious job. And if you're serious all the time, like sometimes that can have a negative impact on you because you're just so serious all the time. You need to have that break. I think it's unfortunate that it's gotten to the point where cracking a joke having a laugh, making a smile is considered taking a break. Like, that's how we should all be all the time. Like, we should all be enjoying ourselves despite of circumstances. I know some people's circumstances make it very hard for them to enjoy what they're going through.
You can't always laugh about your circumstances.
No, because sometimes the shit you go through is serious shit. But there is another side to it. Like, you're going to get through it, hopefully. The hope is you're going to get through it. And later on down the line, whether it be a month, a year, a decade, like, you can look back at that and go, my goodness. Like, that was some shit that I went through. But I'm in such a better place now that I can look back at that and just laugh it off. I think we all need to get to that point. Quit taking everything so serious. Like, there are some things that should be taken seriously. There are. But if you take everything serious, then there's just no room to have a laugh. And there are people
Can I jump in?
It's your podcast. Or someone sent me a message. Today is a snapshot in the film strip of your life.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one cell in this long strip of a film.
So comedy is based on reality. That's what makes it funny.
Yes.
So I'm trying to. Only reason I'm interjecting, I don't normally do that. Normally people interject on my closing remarks, and
not since Brad with the stopwatch.
That's not true. We can roll back the tape. I look at this as that everything you're saying is very, very true. And there are people out there. No, not but.
Okay.
I think the add-on there is that the more realization that you have on, that's why, like, Dave Chappelle's show was huge.
Oh yeah.
Bill Burr I was talking about, huge. These are commentaries on the shortcomings of the seriousness of the situation.
Yeah.
I'm not ever looking for this podcast to turn into a current event podcast. I do enjoy being able to vent it out. I like having people listening and venting it out. I like hearing you say that. I like hearing our guests be able to vent it out, because no one has that outlet where you care but you don't care. But when it comes to who needs to laugh and the comedy side of it, everything you're saying is what I'm listening to is that some of my favorite comics, not even right now, someone brought up, I think it was Ian, that brought up Dennis Leary.
Oh, yeah, Dennis Leary, Richard Pryor.
No cure for cancer.
Yes.
We're still dealing with cancer. It kills more people than anything else right now, except for heart disease, which is still, I can pull up some comedy skits about that too. Which I literally
heart disease, obesity.
Literally fucking said it today. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, wear a mask in the McDonald's drive-thru.
Yeah, prevent you from eating that fucking cheeseburger.
But my point is that, like, what you're saying, everything you're saying is that the more educated you are, the more educated you are, the funnier you are. The more comedy that you can provide, the more education that you give yourself. You look at all sides. You read all the articles. That's how you're funny. Because you realize that we are a comedy of errors, for better or worse. And sadly, I think that this is no exception, what we're dealing with right now. The presidential candidates, COVID-19 that was killing people in the streets, not killing people in the streets. Winter is coming. The zombie apocalypse, like all of these things. The more you know about it, the funnier you can be. Which is why I think you laugh all the time. Don't do your laugh. Jesus Christ.
No,
I wasn't like feeding you a fucking lob, bitch.
no, I know. I mean,
Brandon Holmes says, "Stop while you're ahead."
is that to Steve or me?
Probably me.
No.
But you were doing your closing remarks. We're still choppy, so let's lock it up here.
Yeah. Who needs a laugh? Everyone. Like, you need to be able to laugh at things. You need to be able to laugh at yourself too. Like, realize that you've made some mistakes or you've done some stupid shit, and be able to get past it to the point where you can be able to laugh at it. You know, because you need that. We all need that laughter in our life. Like, because that's what's going to get, those endorphins and the dopamine and stuff running through your system. Like, you need to be able to have that. Otherwise, it's just going to wear you down. You're just going to be negative all the time. No one's going to want to be around you if you're like that. If you're
you don't want to be around yourself.
No, because you're miserable with yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, be able to laugh at whatever. Take seriously what needs to be taken seriously. Laugh at everything else. Control what you can control, and realize that there's a lot out there that you can't control. So when I think of politics, whether it be presidential or more local politics, it's like, you know what? These people can do what they want. I'm still responsible for my life. If I take care of me in my household, it doesn't matter which party is in office, because I'm still taking care of me. And I think some people like the hand in the face, like national politics is right here. That's all they're focusing on. It's like, no, there's other things that may have a bigger impact on you personally than just who's in the White House. Take care of you. That should be your priority. Whether you need to take some things seriously, whether you need to take some things with a laughing matter, like whatever. Take care of you first. Take care of others. They'll take care of others. They'll take care of others. That's how you have an impact, is by taking care of you. Think smaller first. That's how you have a bigger impact. If you always go for the home run, then you're going to pop out. If you're sitting there just trying to put the ball in play, then you're going to get on base or score or whatever. You may accidentally hit a home run. But quit trying to take everything all in all the time.
No, I think it's good. To follow up, Brandon says, no, it was towards me.
Thank you, Brandon.
Said, no,
see, we're laughing.
Yeah, no disrespect, but keeping the positivity. Life is funny as a whole. Enjoy what you can. Didn't mean to interrupt closing.
The other thing I thought about when you interjected. No, hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Because you've talked about how it's just getting exhausting talking about stuff every week or trying to come up with a topic with everything going on.
Right.
When you and Jake first started the podcast, and Jake, again, for those who weren't listening earlier, Jake was in the garage earlier tonight. What was the thing that you guys set out to do to make you stand apart from all the other cigar or whiskey podcasts out
Life
there?
topic.
You talk about life, and that's what we're doing now.
So did Brandon. Actually, no disrespect. That I don't understand the question. I love the fact that you actually chimed in. I love the fact that you're listening. I love the fact that even though with our choppy video, for whatever reason, we'll figure this out later, but if you're listening to the audio side of it, and this is what I think everyone's listening to, because it's painful. I feel like you should actually, if you can, cover your iPad, or you got a Surface over there. No, I'm not trying to. I love the positivity. If you listen to other episodes, I'm usually the one that actually is bringing up the positivity.
Because that's who you are as a person.
Brandon,
don't ever lose that.
Yeah, Brandon Holmes. No disrespect to you. Even me. I'm feeling beat down right now, man. one of the things I've said about this podcast and people like you out there, as we're going through the closing remarks, I love that, because this is what we need. This is the community side of it. This is, some people right now on Facebook. What time is it?
It is 10:30.
10:30. So some people are tuning in. I don't know when you tuned in, Brandon, and you may not even be a part of it anymore. You tune in thinking about we're talking about whiskey and cigars, and then you realize that we're talking about what happens after whiskey and cigars. And this is something that there is no disrespect. This is something that I think that is very, very apparent. There's a reason you said that, and there's a reason that we're talking about this. There's a reason that Nate and I are sitting on this table. The reason that Jake came back and he's sitting in the garage. There's a reason that Shannon's sitting here. There's a reason that people listen to this and actually comment in is because we have to build each other up. That was the whole thing. Who needs to laugh? The reason I brought this up is because I fucking need a laugh. I had a couple great weekends. I have great people around me. I've tried to do what a lot of people do is you bring people in that you can build up and that they build you up. And sometimes that ratio gets skewed. More often than not, that ratio gets skewed. Either you're looking at people that'll build you up, or you are at a point that you get surrounded by people that are looking to you to build them up. Either way, it's exhausting. The balance is actually where it's at. And I think that's the fun of it, is that you find that balance. So I love the fact that he called me out. Brandon Holmes. I think it's good. You didn't interrupt closing. You actually added to it. And I hope that all of you, including Brandon, will tune in next week. I think we had a good amount of sound bites tonight. I think that we had good conversation. And I apologize for anyone watching on the live feed on the video side. I don't know what's going on with the video feed. I guess I have to use some of the Patreon dollars to upgrade our internet in the garage. We had no problems with this.
Here's Brandon.
Brandon says, I said that. I'm going to throw up on screen.
Want me to read it?
No, yeah, you read it. Go ahead.
I said that most who have listened or chimed in, they know you are a good person. I was in no way refuting you. It was the topic that was going astray. I agree that there are things that need to be talked about, and we are going to talk about. I'm happy we are here. Real life conversations are uncomfortable. And then you have Bobby Hirschman right after that, like always coming back. Which, if you've ever watched some of Bobby's comments during some of these episodes,
he says
towards
he's
the end,
tuning out before his next comment.
Yeah, he's like, that's it. I can't handle it. But 30 minutes later, he's still commenting. Like, we love that about it because.
Bobby, obviously we love you. Brandon, we love you too. I appreciate that. This is something. This was once again one of those weeks that I was going into it. Shannon, what do you want? You got the mic.
I was just going to say, before we close out, just remember that there's more love in the world than there's hate.
Yes.
And
thank you.
We just got to keep on that.
God, fuck you for being so positive.
I love it. Don't forget to mute your mic.
And your positivity. It's overwhelming. It's sucking the life out of me. I'll throw up one more as we get into. LJ says, looking forward to the next podcast. It's cool to watch you and your guests having great conversation while enjoying great whiskey and cigars. Absolutely. This is why we do it on Wednesdays, because you should do that on Wednesdays and every day. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is the end of it actually brought a lot to the table, in my opinion.
It's funny how that works sometimes.
I hope they're drinking as much as we are. I want to thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton. I'm still smoking. Still smoking.
Seriously? Good Lord. I'm like halfway through this pizza.
Relight. Bobby Hirschman says, "Isn't it Thursdays?" Depending on where you're at. Anyways, I'm still smoking the Tinder Box at Easton contribution, the Asylum 13, Nicaragua. We talked about it in part 1. Also, Altadis USA. Nate, you're smoking the Butera. How'd that go with the Sycamore? Better or worse?
A little bit better.
All right.
A little bit better. Just because it's a lighter cigar than the Asylum.
Right. BS Cigar Company, gold and silver are now available. All Nicaraguan tobacco. The gold is Plasencia tobacco and out of the Plasencia factory. We also have the silver, which is part of the La Zona factory in Espinosa. Fantastic tobacco all the way around. And also Patreon.com. Guys, you guys are the ones that make it happen. And I appreciate, what I appreciate the most about all this stuff is that it's not about throwing down dollars. And I appreciate that because it helps us out. But it's about the fact that guys like Shannon, who's a patron, he's in the garage. He's local. Now we have Ian, who's in Tennessee. He might as well be local.
That's what we appreciate.
He's been commenting the entire time. Bobby Hirschman, he contributes how he contributes. It's not through Patreon because you don't trust computers, which I can appreciate. So reach out to me if you don't want to do patreon.com/bourbonvs podcast. Reach out to the podcast itself, and we can make it happen. I owe some people some T-shirts, including Ian. Did the best I could, and I steered away from 3Xs and also extra smalls. I knew I needed a small for Liz and a medium for Jody Jacks, who is a patron.
Oh, I thought the medium was for you.
It's a medium. All right, jokes aside.
There's the laugh.
Yeah, I'm not laughing. That's I'm trying to lose weight again. All right, I'm 40. It's tougher. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. We had a good time with all of you tonight, and I hope you guys tune in again. I hope you share it, like it, and bring some more viewers and listeners next week. Bobby Hirschman, XL for you. I got you, bro.
Hey, whatever you give Bobby, give it to me. I'm going out there. I'll take everything.
When are you going out there, Shannon?
Christmas.
All right. So, Bobby, Santa's bringing it, man. I'm giving it to him tonight, and Santa's bringing your
He needs to grow the beard out a little bit longer, I think. It's getting gray. Right. There you go.
Boys,
you go.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Shannon, thank you for being a part of it on the mic. All of you out there, thank you very much. This is what it's all about. It's just hanging out, talking.
Love you
Cheers,
guys.
boys and girls.